Chapter 482. Genius 1 second. Remember Love Go Xiao? It provides you with interesting novels to read. The things recorded in this handbook are very complete. Many of them are rare. After memorizing them, you won't miss anything in the future. Xianxia opened her mouth and said. That's right, Xianxia said. So let's take a look. We can't do things like being blind. Night Sorrow said with a smile. Picking up scraps is also an opportunity. For example, we met that guy who had the Void Dao stone. He got the opportunity but couldn't grasp it and it slipped away. If he didn't have enough luck, he wouldn't be able to enjoy some rare natural treasures. Xianxia said. After the three of them were almost done studying the handbook, they made tea and went back to their rooms to cultivate. During this period of time they had been rushing on their journey. However, Night Sorrow did not neglect his cultivation. Currently, his true chi cultivation had already reached the late void inquiry stage. After working hard for a while, he would be able to reach the peak of the void inquiry stage. His cultivation of the myriad Dao text had also improved very quickly. He was also very close to the peak of the first level Dao seeking realm. After sensing his own cultivation base, Night Sorrow felt that his innate talent in cultivation might indeed be quite good because Yang Lei and Xianxia were still at the mid-void inquiry stage. Everyone's cultivation time and resources were about the same. Such a gap could only be explained by innate talent. Moreover, Night Sorrow cultivated the myriad Dao text, the power of his bloodline and the power of his soul at the same time. After cultivating for an entire night, Night Sorrow washed up and woke up early to practice his spear techniques. After the two ladies came out and had breakfast, the three of them went out to the streets. After leaving the residential area of the Qingji Tower, the three of them took off their masks in a corner where there was no one around. Xianxia put on her veil. The three of them sat on Night Sorrow's qianyu and flew towards the Xiantian Tower. The core area of Sky-bearing City was near the Xiantian Tower. The City Lord's mansion was there. The Qingji Tower's branch in Sky-bearing region was also in that area. That area was also the place with the most shops as well as a trading street. Sky-bearing City is the royal city of the Sky-bearing region. All the sects with some strength have strongholds and shops here. The Jiyu family has a large sphere of influence in Sky-bearing City, and so does the Xikong family. So be careful. If there are any problems, block them for me, Xianxia said. Night Sorrow and Yang Lei nodded. If Xianxia met someone he knew, he would need someone to stop him. When they arrived near the Xiantian Tower, the three got off their mounts. Night Sorrow put away the qianyu, and then under the guidance of the two women, they began to go shopping. Shopping was a woman's nature. She was interested in everything she saw, and Night Sorrow was her companion. Night Sorrow was not interested in the shops on the street. The shops were all very formatted and the items were almost the same. They were all goods that everyone needed. Night Sorrow was not interested in the things that everyone needed. He liked the way street stalls traded. It felt casual and he could bargain as much as he wanted. There were also all kinds of goods. After walking through a long trading street, the three entered a plaza. This was the trading area, a more casual one. Night Sorrow did not call out Xianxia's name. He only said one word, Feather, why don't you enter some of the shops? Xianxia smiled and said, there are signs on the signs. Those are the businesses of the two I mentioned. I don't want to cause trouble so I won't go in. There are so many shops on the trading street anyway. After entering the trading area, the three began to stare at the stalls. First, Night Sorrow bought a huge map of the 9-domain world. Because it was very detailed, Night Sorrow spent 3 high-grade spirit stones. However, Night Sorrow felt that the spirit stones were worth it. The map was very detailed. The ancient sect ruins, the current sect location, and the medicine valley were all carved on it. Night Sorrow felt that this map could be used for a long time. 3 high-grade spirit stones were nothing. Then the three continued to stroll. As long as there were rare herbs and ores, Night Sorrow would use elixirs to barter or spirit stones to buy them. Night Sorrow wanted to study alchemy techniques, and alchemy materials were indispensable. Yang Lei and Xianxia followed behind him. Night Sorrow also saw Lan Yuxuan. Lan Yuxuan was wearing a mask and was quite a distance away from the two of them. Night Sorrow and the others didn't greet Lan Yuxuan because she was wearing a mask. They also knew that Lan Yuxuan's purpose was to protect the three of them. Then Night Sorrow stopped. A vendor's shouting attracted Night Sorrow's attention. This was a rather sloppy old peddler. Looking at his lethargic appearance, Yi Shang knew that he didn't have much lifespan left. However, what made Yi Shang feel strange was that everyone else ignored this peddler. The old man was peddling a piece of crystal. Brother, don't mind him. He's just an old swindler. His lifespan is nearing its end, causing his heart to collapse. He said that the crystal is a water attribute crystal king. It's just a big crystal. Is there a need to act like that? A man walked past Night Sorrow and reminded Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow nodded to the man to express his gratitude. However, he didn't leave. He had just used his soul force to scan the so-called water attribute crystal king. In addition to the water attribute, he also found an energy that could resist the probing of soul force. Night Sorrow once again probed with his soul force and found the power of law. This meant that it wasn't a crystal stone. No matter what it was, as long as it contained the power of law, it was a good thing. Update T new our fastest up X. How much are you selling it? Night Sorrow asked. Spirit liquid, I only want spirit liquid, spirit spring spirit liquid. The old man said excitedly. He didn't have much lifespan left, so if he wanted to prolong his life, spirit spring spirit liquid was the best thing. Of course, spirit spring spirit liquid was of a higher grade than spirit spring spirit liquid, but it wasn't known by others. How many drops? Night Sorrow asked. Night Sorrow was the first to go to the void domain. Tianji Tower had given him a bottle of spirit spring spirit liquid, but he had already used it up. Some time ago, when he was fighting against the dark creatures in Broken Cloud Mountain, Leihua had given him another bottle. 30 drops, no 40 drops. The old man looked at Night Sorrow with excitement. Then keep it for yourself. Night Sorrow coldly snorted. First of all, not to mention the value of this crystal stone, when the old man heard that Night Sorrow had spirit spring spirit liquid, he directly raised the price. This made Night Sorrow very disgusted. Not to mention that he was a cultivator, even if he was a businessman, he couldn't be so shameless. Then 30 drops. The old man quickly changed his words. 15 drops. One more drop, you can keep it company with you. Night Sorrow glanced at the old man and fiercely raised the price. His words were also somewhat sharp. In the past, Night Sorrow's character wasn't like this, but the old man's treacherous style had aroused his disgust. Alright, I'll sell it. The old man's facial muscles twitched as he made a decision. No matter how valuable this crystal stone was, it wasn't as important as his life. The spirit spring spirit liquid was something he could use to prolong his life. Night Sorrow took out the spirit spring spirit liquid and poured 15 drops into an empty bottle under the old man's nervous eyes. He then handed it to the old man and kept the crystal stone that didn't look very valuable. Holding it in his hand, Night Sorrow knew that he had made a profit again. This was an incomplete water-attributed Saint Crystal. Of course, Saint Crystals didn't contain much energy. Most of it was rule force, so ordinary people wouldn't be able to discover it. Chapter 483. Genius remembers love in 1 second/small? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Sorry? I'm not selling it. Night Sorrow put the broken Saint Crystal into his storage ring. What a joke. It was fine if he didn't recognize it, but how could Night Sorrow sell it when he recognized it as a Saint Crystal, even if it was broken? The xianxia was of the water attribute, so the more the better. The source stone contained the law of the water attribute, but it wasn't comprehensive. If he supplemented it with a Saint Crystal, the possibility of the xianxia entering the Saint realm in the future would be greater. I'll pay double. The old man in a green robe said. I won't sell it even if it's several times the price. Sorry. Night Sorrow refused again and got up to leave. He knew that the old man was very strong. He couldn't see his cultivation, so he might be a venerable. If one's soul power wasn't strong enough, or if one didn't have enough knowledge, they wouldn't be able to recognize the Saint Crystal. I'll take it. Don't refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Seeing that Night Sorrow didn't give him any face, the old man blocked Night Sorrow's way. At the same time he was a little angry. How can you buy it by force? What's the difference between this and robbery? Can you rob everyone here just because you want it? Night Sorrow looked at the old man in green robe and said, So what? I'm asking you to take out the crystal now, or you'll have to bear the consequences. The old man narrowed his eyes and looked at Night Sorrow. There are robberies every year, but I've never seen one on the street. xuanhuan walked over. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation, Sir from Tianji Tower, you don't have to get involved in this mess, do you? I have a reward for you. The old man in green robe looked at xuanhuan and said, I don't need your reward. I can't stand this. You'd better leave before something bad happens. xuanhuan's eyes flashed under the mask. If the man in green robe still didn't know when to stop, she would make a move. Leave your name. The green-robed elder looked at xuanhuan and then turned to look at Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow, who are you? Night Sorrow didn't have the habit of hiding his identity. Jiu Yuandang, you better remember this. Jiu and Yuandang glanced at Night Sorrow, then stood up and left. He was very angry, but Lan Yuxuan's existence made him helpless. Night Sorrow glanced at Yuandang's back, then nodded to Lan Yuxuan and prepared to leave with the two girls. I won't sell the crystal stones. Seeing that Night Sorrow was about to leave, the old man who had bought the spring water was a bit reluctant. He knew that he might have made a loss, otherwise Jiu and Yuandang wouldn't have paid so much. I'm not selling. Do you think I'll stop selling just because you say so? I don't want to stir up trouble. If you want to act shamelessly, I don't mind sending you away before your lifespan ends. Night Sorrow looked at the old man with killing intent in his eyes. This old man had no principles and no bottom line. You still want to kill? Guards, this is a robbery. The old man jumped and said. Can we fight and kill here? Night Sorrow looked at Xianxia and asked. Yes. Xianxia nodded. Then why am I still talking nonsense with him? Night Sorrow raised his right hand and pulled out the reincarnation spear from his shoulder. He directly threw out the 7-star glorious moon spear. The spear body carried a strong vibration force. Buzz. The vibration force on the reincarnation spear shook violently, shaking away the long sword that the old man hurriedly pulled out. Then the spear directly penetrated the old man's forehead. When he withdrew the spear, Night Sorrow shook his wrist and took back the bottle of spirit stone water in the old man's hand. Night Sorrow put the reincarnation spear on his back and threw 2 mid-grade spirit stones at the old man's corpse. Who has the time to collect the corpse? Love, Gone little say, Chu. However, Yang Lei was very greedy and took off the old man's storage ring. Night Sorrow and the others continued forward. As for the corpse, someone would take care of it. It wouldn't lie there forever. Spirit stones were still very powerful. Then Night Sorrow continued his treasure hunt. If there were pills and materials, he would exchange them. In any case, he didn't lack pills. Night Sorrow could still make a profit by exchanging pills for materials. That guy has always been there. He hasn't given up and has been following us. Yang Lei said. I know that thing is very precious. He also discovered the secret. Qingtian City isn't easy to survive in. That guy might be a venerable one. Night Sorrow said. Supervisor Lan has always been behind us. He shouldn't dare to do anything. Yang Lei said. Night Sorrow nodded, but he didn't like this feeling because he couldn't control it. His fate was in the hands of others. The feeling of powerlessness was too strong. They didn't continue shopping. Night Sorrow and the others went directly to the Xiantian Tower. When I have time, I'll set up a stall in exchange for good things. Night Sorrow said as he walked. Indeed, the demand for elixirs is the greatest. The things we exchange for are elixirs first and spirit stones later. In addition, there aren't many stalls that sell elixirs. The ones that do sell elixirs have very high prices. Yang Lei nodded. She felt that Yi Shang's method was feasible. If you have a skill, you won't starve to death. This old saying is true. Xianxia nodded. Then the 3 of them arrived in front of the Xiantian Tower. There was a clean circle around the Xiantian Tower. No one set up a stall here. The outer circle was the trading area. It was a prosperous area. However, the Xiantian Tower was a holy land. No one was allowed to casually approach or profane it. There were city guards of Qingtian City guarding it. If anyone dared to mess around, they would be killed. Night Sorrow brought the 2 girls to the front gate of the Xiantian Tower. There were people guarding it. Night Sorrow told the old guard why they had come, which was to challenge the tower. The old guard looked at Night Sorrow's group and said, First hand over your spirit stones. Below the 40th floor, 1 mid-grade spirit stone per floor. From the 40th to the 50th floor, 1 high-grade spirit stone per floor. From the 50th floor to the 60th floor, 10 high-grade spirit stones per floor. Above the 60th floor, 1 extreme-grade spirit stone per floor. Every floor will double the price. After Night Sorrow paid the price for the 50th floor and below, he asked, For the 3 of us, here are 120 mid-grade spirit stones for the 40th floor and below. These are 30 high-grade spirit stones for the 50th floor. As for after the 50th floor, we don't know how many floors we can reach. What do you say? In order to avoid unnecessary trouble and embarrassment, you have to pay in advance. Remember not to exceed the floor you paid in advance. Otherwise, it will be very unpleasant if you can't make up for it when you come out. Also, after you enter, you will be automatically teleported out in 3 days, the old man said. All right. If I don't use it, can I return the money I paid in advance? Night Sorrow asked. He didn't want to be swindled by others. From the actions of Jiu's family members and that peddler, He knew that the Qingtian city was very chaotic. Yes, there is no problem. No one dares to look down on the city Lord Manor's reputation, the old man said. Knight Sorrow directly took out 150 high-grade spirit stones. Pay in advance first. I'll calculate the amount when I come out. The old man nodded at Knight Sorrow and took out 3 jade tablets. He handed them to Knight Sorrow's group. The Xiantian Tower's monitoring system was similar to the Thunder Tower. Chapter 484. Geniuses remember love in 1 second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Lan Yuxuan had a comprehensive understanding of Knight Sorrow's situation. She knew that Knight Sorrow and Jianghu's family had a grudge against each other. In addition, she also knew that some members of Jianghu's family wanted to kill Knight Sorrow. Coupled with Jianghu's family's overbearing style, Lan Yuxuan didn't dare to let down her guard. In Tianji Tower, the treatment of members and the rules they had to abide by were different. For those who were recruited from the periphery, if they were trained beyond their limits, the requirements would be stricter. Of course, if they got something, they would have to pay a price. The reason was very simple. If they didn't create corresponding value and wanted to be trained further, they had to work harder. Many supervisors and guardians were like this. In order to get resources that they weren't qualified to use, they had to give up some freedom. Lan Yuxuan was the same. As a venerable, she needed a lot of cultivation resources. In order to get resources, she had to work hard. At present, the task that Tianji Tower had arranged for Lan Yuxuan was to be Knight Sorrow's personal subordinate. She had to protect Knight Sorrow and communicate with him. Knight Sorrow and the other 2 took the jade tokens and started to challenge the tower. After Knight Sorrow and the other 2 entered the tower, Jianghu came to the old man in the cyan robe. Cousin, these 3 people have started to challenge the tower? Yes, Yuandang is here. Why do you look so pale? The old man in the cyan robe asked. His name was Jianghu Yuanhang and he was a member of Jianghu's family. I missed a big opportunity. It was ruined by Tianji Tower's people. The thing is in that boy's hands. Jianghu Yuandang snorted coldly. These 3 young people are not simple. They are rich and took out a lot of spirit stones. They paid 150 high-grade spirit stones in advance. They should be from a big family, Jianghu Yuanhang said. 150 high-grade spirit stones in advance? What kind of method is this? Jianghu Yuandang was a little confused. 150 high-grade spirit stones was not a small number. He only had this much wealth and he had accumulated it for countless years. What kind of opportunity is it? Why do you value it so much? Asked Jianghu Yuanhang. If cousin is not mistaken, it should be St. Crystals. I offered him 3 times the price but he refused to sell, so I should be right. Jianghu and Yuandang hesitated for a moment before saying, don't do anything for now. There are powerful warriors from Tianji Tower over there, which means these 3 people are not simple. Let's investigate them first. Jianghu Yuanhang glanced at Lan Yuxuan and said, it's as disgusting as eating flies. Love Gone Little Say Jianghu and Yuandang were very angry. Don't be rash. Being followed by a venerable cultivator is definitely not an ordinary cultivator. If things get out of hand, it won't end well. Jianghu Yuanhang reminded Jianghu. After Knight Sorrow entered the Xiantian Tower, he was on guard but no attack appeared. In front of him was a staircase that extended diagonally. Could it be the same as Danding Cliff? Pressure assessment? Knight Sorrow thought for a moment and made a judgment. Holding the reincarnation spear, Knight Sorrow stepped on the staircase and walked up. There was pressure, but this pressure was negligible to Knight Sorrow. There were about 50 steps on the staircase, and at the end of the staircase was an oval-shaped energy door. After walking to the end, Knight Sorrow directly stepped into it. Knight Sorrow walked up step by step. This place might be pressuring for cultivators in the Qi refinement realm, but for Knight Sorrow, it was no different from an ordinary environment. The 10th floor was more comfortable and it was a small space with richer energy. Knight Sorrow did not stop because it was meaningless. If he cultivated here and relied on this level of spiritual energy to advance, he would have to cultivate for dozens of years. Standing on the stairs of the 11th floor, Knight Sorrow felt for a moment and found that the pressure was indeed targeted at cultivators in the Qi gathering realm. The pressure only existed on the stairs. If one did not go up the stairs, they would not feel the pressure. Putting away the reincarnation spear, Knight Sorrow continued to move forward. The low-level assessment was meaningless to Knight Sorrow, and the rewards were meaningless as well. The spiritual stones that he handed over were actually the toll. As he continued to move forward, Knight Sorrow reached the 40th floor. The energy on the 40th floor was already relatively rich, but Knight Sorrow did not stop. The levels below the 50th floor were meaningless to him. He was aiming to improve his soul, and he would only have the opportunity to improve his soul after reaching the 50th floor. Knight Sorrow continued to move forward. He did not know about Yang Lei and Sikong Chiu's situation. In this kind of assessment of perseverance, true chi and physical strength, the two girls were definitely not as good as him. However, he felt that they were still stronger than the others. Since Yang Lei could cultivate the heaven-covering hand, her physical strength was much stronger than ordinary cultivators. In the Medicine Valley, other than Knight Sorrow, she was the second person who cultivated the heaven-covering hand. As for Sikong Chiu, she used to be delicate. Now she also looked slim and weak. However, her body had been transformed by the sky-blue water attribute. Her physical quality was also incomparable to other cultivators. Resisting the pressure, Knight Sorrow's myriad Dao tome had a great advantage. Very soon he rushed to the 50th floor. Without any hesitation, Knight Sorrow continued to move forward. Every floor corresponded to a corresponding level. The 50th floor corresponded to the early void inquiry stage. However, Knight Sorrow felt that the corresponding level was not accurate. There was at least a suppression of 2 levels. In other words, one would need to be at least second void inquiry stage to reach the 50th floor. After taking a deep breath, Knight Sorrow went up the stairs and walked towards the oval-shaped energy on the 51st floor. When Knight Sorrow went up the stairs, the pressure hit him in the face. The pressure was already very strong, but he still did not care. He protected his body with true chi and walked up. After entering the 52nd floor, Knight Sorrow pondered for a while. Without resting, he continued to move forward. The Xianxian Tower still gave the challengers a chance to take a breather. When they just entered the next floor, they could meditate to recover. As long as they did not go up the stairs, there would be no pressure. Feeling that he did not consume much of his energy, Knight Sorrow got up and continued to move forward. When he reached the 53rd floor, Knight Sorrow meditated beside the stairs to recover. He had not stopped moving forward. Knight Sorrow's energy consumption was quite large. Other than that, he did feel that his soul power had been improved. It started from the 51st floor. Among the energy rushing forward, there was a milky white silk-like energy rushing towards his spirit sea. After the milky white energy entered his spirit sea, it began to strengthen Knight Sorrow's soul power. This kind of milky white silk-like energy was different from the energy extracted from the soul crystals. Knight Sorrow felt that his soul power did not improve. It was just the quality of his soul that had changed. Look at section JK_1 of chapter D+ of the original version. For this made Knight Sorrow realize that the rumored energy that could change one's soul power was still very powerful. As he continued forward, Knight Sorrow slowly sensed the deity sea situation and adjusted his speed. Knight Sorrow wasn't worried that he would miss out on anything. If he failed in the Thunder Tower, he would have lost the opportunity to return and continue cultivating. However, this place was different. This was a stair mode. If he couldn't withstand it, he could retreat. Knight Sorrow planned to break through to his limit and then cultivate at his limit. This was something he could control. Although the pressure of moving forward was great, Knight Sorrow was able to reach the 56th step by relying on his own strength and the assistance of his primary energy. However, he was unable to hold on any longer. Chapter 485. Genius 1 second. Remember love go divided by Xiao? We provide you with interesting novels to read. After reaching the 56th floor, Knight Sorrow stopped and stood in front of the stairs leading to the 57th floor. Knight Sorrow began to ponder. Love go divided by Xiao www.ux. Currently, Knight Sorrow had to endure double pressure, which was the impact of ordinary energy and the impact of soul power. Only when his body and spirit sea could withstand it could he continue moving forward. After sorting out his thoughts, Knight Sorrow went up the stairs and continued moving forward. At this moment, not only did he circulate his true chi, the myriad Dao treasure tome was also activated. At the same time, the soul power in his spirit sea was also circulating at full speed, refining the energy that entered his spirit sea. He refined as much as he could. The energy in the Xianxian Tower was slowly pressing into his spirit sea. Knight Sorrow's incorporeal heavenly fate bead did not block it. When the incorporeal heavenly fate bead protects its owner, the owner would have to face a violent impact, which was a conscious soul power attack. However, the energy here did not have such characteristics. Knight Sorrow moved forward step by step. The energy pressed down on him like waves, but it still could not stop him from moving forward. Zhu forever. Read novels for free at this moment. Xuanhuan, who was in charge of guarding the Xianxian Tower, had a solemn expression. A void inquiry stage cultivator reaching the 56th floor. Brother Yuandang, this person is definitely not simple. If you know his name, Go investigate and report it to the clan. Remember, don't act recklessly. Cousin Xuanhuan, if they come out, send someone to follow them. Don't let them escape. That thing is very important to me. Jiu Xuanhuan said. All right. Go ahead. Jiu Xuanhuan nodded. He knew that this matter was not simple. It was already very difficult to maintain the same number of floors in the Xiantian Tower. It was almost impossible to skip levels. However, Knight Sorrow had already skipped 2 levels and was already on par with the record. He could not ignore it even if he wanted to. Jiu Xuanhuan was a member of the City Lord Mansion. However, he would always report valuable information and benefits to the Jiu clan first. Baidu search AI go female sign xiao say www.ichuxs. Joan, the current City Lord of Sky-bearing City, was Jiu Fenglan of the Jiu family, but Jiu Fenglan had not shown himself for many years. Jiu family was indeed powerful in the City Leader Mansion, but it was not powerful enough to cover the sky with one hand. Therefore, the City Leader Mansion and Jiu family were still 2 different things. Lan Yuxuan was still waiting for Knight Sorrow and the other 2. She knew that Jiu family had made some moves, but she wasn't afraid. Lan Yuxuan wasn't afraid of the 2 Jiu family members. Tianji Tower wasn't afraid of Jiu's family. If there was a battle, she could send out a signal and Tianji Tower's people would arrive. Knight Sorrow continued to move forward. Beads of sweat dripped down from his face. When it came to ordinary energy attacks, Knight Sorrow had the myriad Tao Tome and Jin Qi to resist them. However, the pressure from soul energy was too great. Knight Sorrow had reached the 57th floor, but he had also reached his limit. The Xiantian Tower's soul attack was truly tyrannical, but as long as one could withstand it, their soul power would improve greatly. When he reached the 57th floor, Knight Sorrow sat down cross-legged and began to recover. He didn't need to use any resources to recover here. The energy here was very rich, almost the same as 7,000 meters above Danding Cliff. After meditating for an hour, Knight Sorrow had recovered to his peak. He sensed his soul power and found that the quality of his soul power had improved greatly. The milky white soul power emitted a soft and perfect luster. Knight Sorrow felt that the spirit stones were well spent. The improvement of the quality of his soul power was priceless. In addition, this place was also a holy land for cultivation. After cultivating for a while, Knight Sorrow stood up. A rich cultivation environment was hard to come by for others, but it was nothing for Knight Sorrow. With the help of the spiritual liquid and elixirs, Knight Sorrow's cultivation speed had been maintained at a high speed. Therefore, Knight Sorrow didn't care about the rich cultivation environment. However, the improvement of the quality of his soul power was important. It was the foundation, so he had to make a breakthrough. Knight Sorrow stood up and stepped onto the stairs. He began to endure the energy pouring into his body and cultivate. After taking a few steps, Knight Sorrow discovered that his soul power was no longer accepting the changes of the Xiantian Tower's soul energy. In other words, his soul power had reached perfection. Discovering this, Knight Sorrow controlled his soul power to quickly revolve and refine the energy entering his divine sea. He began to improve his soul power. The appearance of this situation increased Knight Sorrow's ability to resist pressure. After an hour, Knight Sorrow reached the 58th floor. However, his body was soaked in sweat and he had used up all of his energy. Knight Sorrow knew that it would be very difficult for him to reach the 59th floor, but he didn't plan on giving up. He would charge as far as he could, and when he reached his limit, he would cultivate. After cultivating for an hour on the 58th floor and recovering to his peak state, Knight Sorrow got up and went up the stairs. He didn't know that at this time, a shadow had appeared in the space and was observing him. Knight Sorrow had to bear a lot of pressure with every step he took. However, he could still persevere. He knew that perseverance meant gains. When he was 10 steps away from the 59th floor, the pressure suddenly surged. He had to reach the 59th floor. With a low roar, Knight Sorrow used his bloodline talent and used space crack. He wanted to cut open the turbulent flow of energy and reduce the impact of the pressure. Following the hissing sound, Yishang's spatial rend tore open a crack in the pressure energy. Then Yishang used a second spatial rend. After using the spatial rend, he stepped onto the 59th floor. After entering the 59th floor, Knight Sorrow directly fell to the ground. His true chi and the myriad Tao Tome's energy were completely exhausted. Even standing was difficult. After gasping for a while, Knight Sorrow sat down cross-legged and began cultivating. At this time, in front of the Xiantian Tower, Jiu Xuanhuan, who was in charge of guarding the tower, had a gloomy look on his face. Knight Sorrow had already broken the tower's record. Before, the record was 2 levels higher than himself, But when Night Sorrow entered the 59th floor, Night Sorrow's record was 5 levels higher than himself. This record was destined to shock everyone. Xuanhuan felt that if he couldn't bring someone like Night Sorrow under his control, he would be a great threat. At this time Xuanhuan had also returned. Night Sorrow had spent 6 to 8 hours in the tower, and during this time he had already collected all the information. Then he told Xuanhuan about the situation. In other words, he's a potential enemy of our Jiu family. We can't let him live. Xuanhuan's face showed a murderous look. When he comes out, I'll kill him, said Xuanhuan with a vicious look. No, he's so outstanding. He must have a lot to do with Tianji Tower. If you kill him, you'll be in a lot of trouble. Go to the family and summon some men of sacrifice. Kill him at the cost of a few men of sacrifice, Xuanhuan said. In terms of experience, Xuanhuan was much worse than him, so he had thought it through thoroughly. Xuanhuan nodded and left. However, Lan Yuxuan saw all this. She had seen Xuanhuan show up twice, so she became even more cautious. If she still didn't know that Night Sorrow was in danger, she would be an idiot. She wouldn't have become a supervisor of Tianji Tower. Chapter 486. Genius 1 second. Remember love divided by go divided by little? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Night Sorrow rested for a while, stretched his waist, and looked at the stairs leading to the 60th floor. At this time he was very calm. Being able to reach this level meant that he was at the peak of the 5th rank. This was enough for him. Night Sorrow stepped on the stairs intending to continue. When he reached his limit he would begin to meditate. Night Sorrow had just stepped on the stairs when the violent energy bombardment began. He did not move forward but stood in place and endured, not being rushed down. At this time, Night Sorrow saw an unusual phenomenon. An energy shadow appeared 6 or 7 meters in front of him, waving its arms and controlling the energy to attack Night Sorrow. Energy guard? Although Night Sorrow was surprised, he did not think it was strange. He had seen many energy guards in the Thunder Tower. Unfortunately, he was far away from this energy shadow and could not attack it at close range. He wanted to fight it, but the impact of the energy made it impossible for him to cross the distance of 6 or 7 meters. Controlled by the energy shadow, the energy went berserk, constantly attacking Night Sorrow. At this time, there was an extremely strong soul energy attack. It was automatically blocked by the Void Fate Pearl, which protected its master, outside of Night Sorrow's spirit sea. Love Gon Little Say W. Chu. Without the hindrance of his soul being attacked, Night Sorrow's feet landed on the ground as if he had taken root. At the same time he took out the sky-piercing spear with ice serpent tendons. After infusing it with vibration energy, it flew toward the energy shadow. Vibration energy was the most effective when attacking energy bodies. The strong vibration would make the energy body unstable, and the damage was the highest. Night Sorrow held 4 sky-piercing spears with ice serpent tendons in both hands and attacked the energy shadow alternately. The energy shadow was hit several times by Night Sorrow's sky-piercing spears, but it was not affected much. The energy shadow retreated 6 meters, out of Night Sorrow's attack range. At this moment, Night Sorrow activated his innate bloodline ability and unleashed a spatial rend. Night Sorrow's spatial rend was much more powerful now that his soul power had reached perfection. It was as if the spatial rend had pierced through space and struck the energy phantom. Being struck by the energy of the space crack, the energy figure shook. Because the energy figure was affected by the attack, the energy suppressing Night Sorrow was greatly reduced. Stomping his foot, Night Sorrow charged forward. As he did so, Night Sorrow fired another spatial rend. The space rend energy slash, which seemed to have broken through the restraints of space, directly cut the energy figure's body. It made the energy figure's body shake again. K is the only official version. V5, all other Qs are pirated QS. At this moment, Night Sorrow had also arrived in front of the energy figure. Night Sorrow, who no longer suppressed his attributes, poured his incorporeal true energy into his reincarnation spear. He executed the 7 stars brilliant moon spear art and began to attack the energy figure. Void attribute. It's actually the void attribute. I'm not fighting anymore. The energy figure spoke in human language and retreated a few meters. Then, it waved its arm and the energy of the entire 59th floor gathered on its body. With all the energy gathered on the energy figure, Night Sorrow no longer felt any pressure. At the same time the energy figure also became clearer. It was a girl of about 11 or 12 years old. The energy even transformed into a small green skirt that covered her body. It seems like you have intelligence. I'm sorry for hurting you just now. Can I enter the next floor? Night Sorrow asked. He felt that if he defeated the guard, he would be able to enter the next floor. Yes, but there's no hurry. I have something to tell you. If you agree, then everything will be easy. The girl looked at Night Sorrow and said, Say it. Night Sorrow put away his reincarnation spear and took out a jar of wine to drink. We can be friends, but you can't bully me. The girl said, That's not a problem. Of course I can promise you. Night Sorrow said with some bewilderment. Then I can tell you. I'm the artifact spirit here. Because half of my attributes are the same as yours, I'll follow you from now on. Remember what you said, you can't bully me. The girl walked to Night Sorrow's side and said, You're not an energy guard. You're the artifact spirit of the Xianxian Tower? Night Sorrow said with some shock. What energy guard? This spirit isn't. Also, the Xianxian Tower sounds terrible. This spirit is the Space-Time Treasure Pagoda. The Xianxian Tower is a name that you cultivators randomly came up with. The girl in green said, Space-Time Treasure Pagoda, what kind of concept is that? Night Sorrow asked. It's a spirit treasure with the time and space attributes. The girl in green said. Then what should I call you? Night Sorrow asked. Just call me Little Kong. You're not bad. Not only is your soul power perfect, you also have the space attribute which has reached the standard I set. If you didn't reach this standard, I wouldn't have appeared. In addition, you also have the Supreme Void attribute which is very powerful. Little Kong sized up Night Sorrow and said, In other words, if you follow me in the future, I can use this space-time treasure pagoda? Night Sorrow asked. This was the question he was most concerned about. As long as you don't bully me, it's fine. I can listen to you and help you do some things, but you have to take me with you. Little Kong seemed to be closer to Night Sorrow. But I can't. If I take you with me now, I'll be hunted down. It'll be very miserable. Night Sorrow said while rubbing his forehead. If Night Sorrow took the space-time treasure pagoda, the Qingtian region would be turned upside down. The Qingtian region's city lord mansion would hunt him down in the 9 regions and 18 prefectures. If anyone wants to kill you, you can use me to kill them. But that won't do. Your strength is too low. Little Kong looked at Night Sorrow and said. Night Sorrow blushed. He was actually looked down upon by the Xianxian Pagoda, or rather, the Space-Time Treasure Pagoda's artifact spirit. He was probably the first in the 9 regions and 18 prefectures. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow felt that if he wanted to take away the Space-Time Treasure Pagoda, he could only steal it. If he stole the Space-Time Treasure Pagoda without anyone noticing, it would be impossible to swagger away. How about this? You stay here and don't worry. I'll take you away later. But if I don't enter the pagoda, how can I communicate with you? Night Sorrow asked. That's not a problem. Send a strand of your soul power to me, and then I'll give you a strand of origin energy. This way we can communicate at any time. However, we can't communicate too far away. Otherwise it won't work. Little Kong said. Then Night Sorrow sent a strand of his soul power into Little Kong's energy body. Following that, Little Kong sent a strand of origin energy into Night Sorrow's divine sea. After Little Kong's origin energy entered Night Sorrow's divine sea, Night Sorrow found that Little Kong's thoughts appeared in his mind. Don't let anyone find out about this. Otherwise it'll be troublesome. Night Sorrow reminded Little Kong. I'm not afraid. Even if I'm found out, others will find trouble with you. Once I seal the pagoda, who can do anything to me? Little Kong looked at Night Sorrow with a strange gaze. If he used Night Sorrow's feelings, it would be disdain or even a joke. Chapter 487. A Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Original C initial R. Sense C, you're strong. Alright, I have 2 other companions who are also challenging the tower. They are 2 women. Night Sorrow asked about Yang Lei and Xikongqiu. They're all cultivating on the 54th floor. The 2 of them are not bad, Shao Kong answered directly. That's good. I'll discuss the plan to sneak you away, Night Sorrow said after thinking for a moment. The biggest problem lies in the fact that there is an expert at the top of the Space-Time Treasure Pagoda. Otherwise, I could have easily defeated the guards around it, Shao Kong said as he raised his head. What's going on? Night Sorrow asked with a frown. It's an old man. He has a spiritual treasure. Using that spiritual treasure, he's currently hovering above my true body. He's using my true body to absorb the spiritual chi of heaven and earth to cultivate there. He's taking advantage of me. I've been tolerating him because of the spiritual stones, Shao Kong said. I don't know much about spirit stones. Night Sorrow shook his head. It's like this. If I open the tower to the outside world, they have to feed me spirit stones. In fact, The energy consumed by the people who challenge the tower is 1/3 of the energy they feed me. I still have some profit. So, looking at their spirit stones, I didn't move. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to bear the bastards above. Shao Kong said. Then what should we do? Night Sorrow was at a loss. That's right. I can't harm you. That guy is at the peak of the Paragon realm. If we don't get rid of him, it'll be troublesome. Shao Kong said. Peak Monarch realm, could it be the sky-bearing city lord? Night Sorrow narrowed his eyes in thought. I don't know about that, Shao Kong said. You have the dual attributes of time and space. Can't you break through space? Or is there any other way? Night Sorrow said after thinking for a while. I can. But after entering the spatial crack, if I can't fix the location with you, we'll be pulled away by the spatial turbulence. If we fly directly, we won't be able to escape the seal of the old man above. Shao Kong said after thinking for a while. That's a problem. Night Sorrow was helpless. If he couldn't solve the problem, he wouldn't be able to take the space-time treasure pagoda away. Not really. If you can tear space, I can fix the location through the spatial crack. For example, if you tear space twice, I can fix the location the first time. The second time, I can come out of the spatial crack. Shao Kong explained his idea. But I can't right now. Yishan rubbed his head and said. Try using your spatial technique again, Shao Kong said to Yishan. Although Night Sorrow the spatial crack, the spatial crack, the crack, the spatial crack, the crack, the spatial crack, the crack, the crack, the crack very quickly closed. I can enter and exit this space crack, but the speed at which it's closing is way too fast. If only I could stabilize it. Lil Kong said with a pout. Steady? Then can I find a venerable to seal the space and slow down the closing of the spatial crack? Night Sorrow asked. Of course. My origin energy is on you. As long as there's a spatial crack, I can feel it. Even if it's small, I'm not afraid. I just need to maintain it for a while. Love Gon Little say W. Chu Shao Kong nodded at Night Sorrow. That's good. I'll find a reliable venerable to help me do this. Night Sorrow said. You have to hurry. I'm worried that the guy above will break through. Many years ago he was a peak venerable. Who knows when he will enter the Saint Realm? If that's the case, we won't have any chance. Although I can prevent him from recognizing me as his master, it's impossible for me to escape. Shao Kong said. I'll take care of this soon. Don't worry. Night Sorrow patted Shao Kong's shoulder and said. If you help me, I'll help you. I have a lot of abilities. You'll know them slowly. Shao Kong raised her head and looked at Night Sorrow. All right. Let's not expose ourselves. I'll continue to cultivate. You can just teleport us out 3 days later. Night Sorrow said. Let's go to the 60th floor. The energy there is abundant. It's more suitable for cultivation. Shao Kong said to Night Sorrow. It's not suitable. If the people outside know that I've reached the 60th floor with a cultivation base of the 4th level of the Void Inquiry stage, it will be a big joke. It will also attract attention. If I bring you away, it will be easy for me to expose myself. Night Sorrow said. If it wasn't for Shao Kong, Night Sorrow would certainly want to go higher. Now he had some scruples. If you want them to know, they will know. If you don't want them to know, they won't know. Give me the jade token. Let's go up. Shao Kong waved her hand at Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow gave the jade token to Shao Kong. Then, under her lead, Night Sorrow entered the 60th floor. The 60th floor was an area that only Venerable Realm experts could reach. The density of the energy there had already reached an extreme level. Shao Kong, the energy in this space of yours is very terrifying. Night Sorrow said. Yes. However, if people keep coming and going, a lot of it will be absorbed away. This is harmful to me. Therefore, even if Venerable Realm experts come, I will control them and stop them below the 60th floor. I also want to cultivate and I don't want others to skin me alive. That's why I want you to bring me away. Shao Kong said. Don't worry. We'll definitely work. Night Sorrow comforted Shao Kong and sat down to meditate and begin his cultivation. His cultivation lasted for 2 days. Night Sorrow did not know that the situation outside was already very tense. The death warriors of Jiyu clan were hiding in the area in front of the Shintian Tower. The patrol captain of the Tianji Tower had also appeared in this area with his men. Lan Yuxuan also showed up directly. This was to deter Jiyu clan because it was better to avoid war if they could. At this moment, on the top floor of the Tianji Tower, which was not far away from the Spacetime Pagoda, Guoxiao stood with his hands clasped behind his back. Beside him was a man wearing a golden mask. Yao Yang Night Sorrow is very important to our Tianji Tower. During the days when he is in the Qingtian region, you will protect him secretly. As long as a venerable realm expert tries to attack him, kill him. Guo said to the man behind him. Yao Yang understands. The man wearing the golden mask nodded. He was the leader of the 3 gold palace guards, Yao Yang. Currently, our Qingji tower only has 2 heaven pole emissaries. Therefore, as long as they don't do anything wrong, we will fight any forces for them. Guo said. This subordinate understands. Yao Yang nodded. On Knight Sorrow's side, after Shao Kong's reminder, he ended his cultivation. Peak 4th grade void inquiry stage. Shao Kong, this place of yours is indeed a sacred place for cultivation. Knight Sorrow said after sensing his cultivation base. You are sucking my blood. However, a small portion of it won't harm me. You can leave now. We can communicate within 20 li * 500 m per li of this space-time pagoda. Shao Kong said to Knight Sorrow. Then I'll leave first. I will communicate with you later in the surroundings. Also, I will make the best use of my time to bring you away. Knight Sorrow stood up and said. Then I'll wait for your news. If you succeed, I won't have to serve this group of bastards anymore. Also, there are many cultivators with killing intent around the pagoda. Be careful. Take the jade token. Shao Kong threw the jade token to Knight Sorrow and said. Perhaps they are the city guards. Knight Sorrow tidied up his robe and said. Chapter 488. Geniuses remember love in 1 second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Then Knight Sorrow fell into a trance. When he came back to his senses, he was already standing in front of the gate of the space-time pagoda. Yang Lei and Xikong Chuyu were standing beside him. How are you two? Knight Sorrow asked. Very good. It's indeed much more powerful than the Thunder Tower, Yang Lei said. Let's go. Knight Sorrow said and walked towards xuanhuan. I'll pay the bill, Knight Sorrow said when he arrived in front of xuanhuan. 2 with the 54th floor and 1 with the 59th floor. Add 20 top-grade crystal stones, xuanhuan said. Knight Sorrow didn't say anything. He took Yang Lei and Xikong Chuyu's jade tablets, then took out 20 top-grade spirit stones and put them on the table in front of Yang Lei and Xikong Chuyu. After that, he walked out with a surprised look on their faces. Be careful, we're being watched, Knight Sorrow said in a low voice. Needless to say, it must be those shameless people from the Jiyu family, Xikong Chuyu said in a low voice. Let's get closer to Supervisor Lan. Knight Sorrow said and moved closer to Lan Yuxuan. So far he had found a few black-clothed people whose cultivation bases were higher than his, Yang Lei and Xikong Chuyu. He didn't want to take the risk. If he was alone, Knight Sorrow would have killed them. But now he was more concerned about the safety of Xikong Chuyu and Yang Lei. Seeing Knight Sorrow and the other 2 coming over, Lan Yuxuan didn't say anything. She just moved her arms and some people moved, imperceptibly protecting Knight Sorrow and the other 2. On the other side, Xuanhuan shook his head at Xuandang, who was about to make a move. Xuanhuan knew that if he made a move now, he wouldn't have the chance to do so, and Qingji Tower would surely retaliate. After leaving for a while, Knight Sorrow's group of 3 rode Tianyu and the dark feathered eagle out of this area. Lan Yuxuan brought some people to bring up the rear and didn't follow. Did you notice? Knight Sorrow asked. Yes, there are at least 20 people with murderous intent lurking in the crowd, Xikong Chuyu said. It's not easy to stay in the Qingtian domain. Let's make some preparations and return to the eastern Xian domain. This Jiyu family is too shameless. We can't defeat them yet, said Yang Lei. I can't leave. I still have some things to do. Let's go back and talk. Piloting Tianyu, Knight Sorrow made sure that no one was following them and flew straight to the mansion district. In the air, the 3 put on their masks and went through the inspection of the Silver Palace guards before returning to the mansion. Knight Sorrow, the Jiyu family is too hateful, Yang Lei said somewhat angrily. It's only a matter of time before we deal with them. Knight Sorrow took the 2 girls to the backyard. Why not leave? After entering the backyard, Xikong Chuyu asked while making tea. Because of the Xiantian Tower. It should be called the Space-Time Pagoda, Knight Sorrow said. What? Xikong Chuyu's hand trembled and spilled the water. I have to find a way to take the Space-Time Pagoda away, Knight Sorrow said to Yang Lei. What do you mean? Yang Lei looked at Knight Sorrow and asked. Ninth senior sister, didn't you say that you would take the Xiantian Tower away if you had the chance? The real name of the Xiantian Tower is the Space-Time Pagoda. The problem is, how do you move it? There are so many guards. If I take it away, won't they kill me? Knight Sorrow said. You mean that you made the Xiantian Tower? Oh no, the Space-Time Pagoda recognize you as its master? Xikong Chuyu asked. You can say that. We are friends. Her origin body has the power of my soul, and my spirit sea has the power of her origin body. We can communicate. The problem now is how to move it away. Night Sorrow took the tea that Xianxia handed over with trembling hands. You're really ruthless, Yang said excitedly. I can't believe you actually made my 9th senior sister's joke real. Now, let's think about how we're going to take away the number 1 spiritual treasure of the Qingtian realm. There are many problems. We won't be able to move it away by ourselves. If we want to move it away, we will need the help of a top supremacy. Otherwise, we won't be able to avoid the obstruction of that old man above the spacetime pagoda. It will cause a lot of trouble. Night Sorrow explained the situation that Little Kong had told him. It's very difficult. We have 2 choices in front of us. One is to inform Auntie Fei and we will wait here for news. The other is to report to the Chief Tower Master and ask for his help. The only difference is, Night Sorrow, can you trust the Chief Tower Master? Xianxia said. This shouldn't be a problem. The upper echelons of Tianji Tower are trustworthy. They are all seniors worthy of respect. How about this? I will go see the Chief Tower Master later and see what he has to say. After all, this is a big matter that might cause a commotion. We have to think about Tianji Tower, Night Sorrow said. Yes, if we don't have a plan, it would be irresponsible of us to cause trouble, Xianxia said. Alright, you guys wait for me here. I will go to the Sky Pole Dark Palace now, Night Sorrow said as he stood up. Xianxia and Yang both nodded because this matter was indeed too big. It was so big that it could cause a war. Riding on the Sky Feather, Yishang arrived at the Celestial Peak Pavilion. Holding the token and wearing a mask, Yishang arrived at the underground hall of the Celestial Peak Pavilion without any obstructions. Taking off his mask, Night Sorrow cupped his hands to the Heavenly Star Palace's guard. I want to go to the Dark Palace. Please. Heavenly Star bowed to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow entered the teleportation array and was teleported to the Sky Pole Dark Palace. In the Dark Palace Hall, Night Sorrow didn't see Lin Yuandao and the others, but there was a supervisor. After the supervisor greeted Night Sorrow, he said that the K-Lord was out and not in the Dark Palace. When the K-Lord returns, please inform me. I have something important to discuss with the K-Lord, Night Sorrow said. I will remember Sir's instructions. I will do it well, the supervisor on duty said. All right, Night Sorrow nodded to the supervisor and left the Dark Palace, returning to his mansion. What did he say? Xianxia asked. Read the original chapter, Ion R. I didn't see anyone. Night Sorrow shook his head and told him about the situation at the Dark Palace. Then let's wait. They will be out for a short time. Let's cultivate and wait, Xianxia said. Just as they were talking, Lan Yuxuan arrived. Night Sorrow, the situation isn't good. Jiyu's family is targeting you, Lan Yuxuan said. I know, but I can only endure it now because I don't have the strength. Night Sorrow was a little depressed. It's nothing. I came to tell you to be careful. No matter how arrogant Jiyu's family is, they can't be arrogant to the Tianji Tower, Lan Yuxuan said. The 3 of us plan to cultivate quietly for a few days. Night Sorrow said. He didn't want to tell Lan Yuxuan about the spacetime pagoda. It wouldn't solve the problem and could easily change. Chapter 489. Genius 1 second. Remember Love Go divided by Xiao? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. After sending Lan Yuxuan off, Night Sorrow asked Kei Xiang to prepare a table of food and wine. Then the 3 of them drank to celebrate. Baidu search AI Go female sign Xiao say www.ichuxs.com 13. You're too scary. 9th senior sister was just joking and you made it a reality. That's good enough, Yang said. The problem is that it's not easy to get the spacetime pagoda. Moreover, we'll owe them a favor, Night Sorrow said. There's nothing we can do about it. After all, the spacetime pagoda is too important, Xianxia said. The spacetime pagoda was the number 1 spiritual treasure of the Qingtian region. It was also the symbol of the Qingtian region. Not to mention the cultivators of other regions, there was no cultivator in the Qingtian region who didn't know about the Xiantian pagoda. If the Xiantian pagoda, which was also the spacetime pagoda, disappeared, it would definitely cause a huge commotion. The commotion that would sweep through the Qingtian region would also weaken the Qingtian region's strength. Just thinking about it makes me excited. The number 1 spiritual treasure of the Qingtian region is ranked the highest among the known spiritual treasures. Just thinking about it makes me excited. If we can get that thing in our hands, it'll be very powerful, Yang said with a smile. Let's deal with it first and get it first. The main thing is that the guy above the spacetime pagoda is a hidden danger. We don't know who he is and what his cultivation level is. Night Sorrow was still a little worried. No matter how strong he is, he's not a saint, right? If he was a saint, he would have already made a big move in the Qingtian region. It wouldn't be so peaceful. If he's not a venerable, it's impossible for him to make a big move, Xikongchuyu said after analyzing. Okay, let's wait for Lord K to come back first. Knight Sorrow thought for a moment and felt that it was better to wait for Lin Yuandao to come back before making a decision again. Over the next few days, Knight Sorrow cultivated every day. When he had time, he would go to the Shintian Square. However, he was always with Lan Yuxuan. He changed into the same white battle robes and black battle robes. He also wore a mask. Knight Sorrow was wearing a mask and a new robe. It was hard to say whether the Jiyu family would recognize him or not, but they definitely wouldn't dare to directly attack Knight Sorrow, who was a member of the Tianji Tower, because that would be a declaration of war. Declare war? Even Sky-bearing City couldn't declare war on Tianji Tower, much less the Jiyu family. If a war broke out, Tianji Tower might suffer losses, but the Jiyu family would no longer exist. Even the other branches in the 9 regions and 18 prefectures would be uprooted. Lan Yuxuan didn't understand why Knight Sorrow was doing this, but since Knight Sorrow didn't say, she didn't ask because it wasn't appropriate. She was now a subordinate and was only responsible for protecting Knight Sorrow and coordinating the relationship with Tianji Tower. She couldn't care less about anything else. Knight Sorrow could sense Shao Kong's existence even though he was very far away from the space-time pagoda, but he couldn't communicate with her. After entering the range of 20 li, Knight Sorrow could communicate with Shao Kong. Shao Kong was a bit impatient. She didn't want to stay here right now. Knight Sorrow was comforting her and telling her about the current situation. Knight Sorrow felt that it was fine if he didn't take action. If he did, he would do it well. There was only one chance. If he didn't succeed this time, Sky-bearing City wouldn't give him a second chance to take away the space-time pagoda. Even if it was just a decoration, it had to be left in the Sky-bearing City. After communicating with Shao Kong for a few days, Shao Kong's affinity with Knight Sorrow had increased. Every day when Knight Sorrow came, Shao Kong would talk to Knight Sorrow endlessly. Under Shao Kong's guidance, Knight Sorrow even bought a time crystal. If it wasn't for Shao Kong's guidance, Knight Sorrow wouldn't have been able to recognize that the gray stone was a time crystal. After cultivating his foundation at night and practicing his spear techniques during the day, Knight Sorrow would walk around the profound heaven square. In the blink of an eye, 1 month had passed. Knight Sorrow's cultivation base had also advanced to the 5th level of the Void Inquiry stage. His myriad Dao treasure tome had also advanced to the 2nd level of the Dao Seeking realm. His soul power had also improved very quickly, mainly because of his good foundation. The quality of Knight Sorrow's soul power was perfect. Therefore, it was easier for him to increase the quantity of his soul power. If it was a normal Spirit C, Knight Sorrow's soul power would improve even faster. His Spirit C was more than 1/3 larger than ordinary people's Spirit C. This made Knight Sorrow's foundation solid. At the same time, it also made it more difficult for Knight Sorrow to improve his soul power. On this day when Knight Sorrow had just finished his cultivation, he discovered that some people had come. They were Lin Yuandao and Wu Lingfei, who was wearing a mask. C initial E initial S 4-inch Lord K Lord Aunt Fei, why are you here? Knight Sorrow looked at Wu Lingfei in surprise. I'm here to see how you are doing. Wu Lingfei said. Elderly and I swallowed our pride and invited you here. How many years has it been since Lord Wu Kei came to our headquarters? Lin Yuandao said with a smile. It's good that Aunt Fei is here. Since Wu Lingfei was here, Knight Sorrow felt more confident. Lin Yuandao took a cup of tea from Xikongchuyu and sat down. Knight Sorrow, I went to the Dark Hall with Lord Wu Quebec. I heard from the supervisor that you were looking for me. What is it? It's a big matter, so I have to tell Lord K Lord. It's like this. The Shintian Tower has already communicated with me. To put it bluntly, the Shintian Tower, or the Spacetime Pagoda, has recognized me as its master. The problem I need to face now is how to take it away. The City Lord Mansion will definitely not allow this. Knight Sorrow explained the situation from beginning to end. The Shintian Tower recognizing you as its master is a good thing. It's also a big matter. If it's not handled properly, it might lead to a war. Lin Yuandao's expression was very serious. If this matter is very troublesome, I'll wait a little longer. I must steal this spacetime pagoda, Knight Sorrow said. You can't wait. According to what you said, the Shintian Tower, or the Spacetime Pagoda, only has someone at the peak of the Venerable Realm. If he enters the Saint Realm, then the Spacetime Pagoda will have nothing to do with you. Your opportunity will be snatched away. Senior Brother Lin, how do you think we should deal with this matter? Wu Lingfei looked at Lin Yuandao and asked. Junior Sister Wu, don't worry. It's true that the space-time pagoda belongs to the City Lord Mansion, but it doesn't have an owner. Everything has a spirit. It chose Night Sorrow, so it's Night Sorrow's opportunity. It's not wrong for us to help Night Sorrow. Now, we just need to think of a foolproof way to silently eat the meat without others knowing who ate it. That's perfect, Lin Yuandao said. In the Tianji Tower, the Chief Tower Master and Deputy Chief Tower Master were addressed as Senior Brother and Junior Sister. Lin Yuandao and Wu Lingfei had both been celestial emissaries, so it was appropriate for them to address each other as Senior Brother and Junior Sister. Night Sorrow, I think you must have a plan. Tell me about it. We have to be careful, Wu Lingfei said. She understood Night Sorrow and knew that Night Sorrow must have a plan in mind. It's like this. I have a plan, but I need others to help. The space-time pagoda can break through space and leave, but if you want to find me, you need to cooperate. Night Sorrow explained his idea. This plan is feasible. Prepare to steal and prepare to fight. We must have the space-time pagoda, Wu Lingfei said. Junior Sister Wu, what do you think is appropriate? Lin Yuandao looked at Wu Lingfei and asked. Chapter 490. A Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. How about this, Junior Martial Sister Wu, you take Night Sorrow with you. You're better than me in terms of spatial imprisonment. If there's a battle, I'll take care of it. Lin Yuandao rejected Wu Lingfei's suggestion. Senior Martial Brother Lin, it's not appropriate for Qinji Tower to go to war with the Qingtian region, but the Eastern Xian region doesn't have this concern, and it won't cause any trouble. After Night Sorrow succeeds, you all retreat and I'll fight him here. If worst comes to worst, I'll retreat as well. This will turn into a war between the Qingtian region and the Eastern Xian region. It's not like such a war has never happened before. Alright, I'll respect Junior Sister Wu's decision. In addition, a portion of our Qinji Tower's troops will also be transferred to the Eastern Xian region. If they want to attack the Eastern Xian region, then let's give it a try. We'll kill as many as they send. Lin Yuandao said. Then it's settled. Night Sorrow, do you need anything else? Wu Lingfei looked at Night Sorrow and asked. There's nothing else. When the time comes, I'll communicate with the space-time pagoda and have her disappear into thin air. Before she disappears, I'll trick that guy up there. I'll just wait here to receive her. There's nothing to prepare, Night Sorrow said. Then it's settled. I'll go back and arrange for people to head to the Tianji Tower's Qingtian region branch and make preparations for a tough battle. We'll take action tomorrow. Also, perhaps he hasn't discovered anything. I'll leave with Night Sorrow and Junior Sister Wu won't need to fight. Lin Yuandao made a summary of the operation plan. After chatting for a while, Lin Yuandao left. Wu Lingfei didn't leave. She didn't have anything else to do. Now that Auntie Fei is here, I have some confidence in my heart. Originally, I planned to return to Eastern Xian region to discuss this matter with Auntie Fei. However, going back and forth is too time-consuming, said Night Sorrow. Master K's side is completely trustworthy. The law enforcement elder, the guardian elder, the chief supervisor, and the chief guardian are all the core members of Tianji Tower. They are all trustworthy people. Wu Lingfei took off her mask, picked up the tea in front of her, and took a sip. It's true that I've always been troubled by something. This has brought trouble to Tianji Tower and the Eastern Xian region. Night Sorrow said apologetically. That's nothing. It's a good thing. In addition, there are some things that Auntie Fei wants to tell you. Eastern Xian region and Tianji Tower will advance and retreat together in the future. Wu Lingfei explained to Night Sorrow that Tianji Tower wanted to expand into a second base in the Eastern Xian region. That's good. Tianji Tower won't fight for territory. This will only strengthen our Eastern Xian region. It's a good thing, said Night Sorrow. Auntie Fei also thinks so. Auntie Fei is a member of Tianji Tower and also a member of Eastern Xian region. Therefore, I don't want any conflict between the two sides. I feel that the interests of both sides are very important. If Tianji Tower establishes a second base in Eastern Xian region, the number of members from Eastern Xian region will increase. In addition, the talents from other regions will grow in Eastern Xian region and develop feelings for Eastern Xian region. Therefore, this is beneficial to both Eastern Xian region and Tianji Tower. Yes, I understand. Night Sorrow said. It's good that you understand. In addition, Tianji Tower's regulations have also been revised. It means that the City Lord of 9 regions Royal City can also be the K-Master. In fact, this doesn't conflict. This way Tianji Tower can develop faster. It also solves the concerns of some members. Who doesn't have feelings for their hometown? Wu Lingfei said to Night Sorrow. That's right. For a force to develop, the first thing to do is to set a path. Night Sorrow nodded. He knew that this regulation had something to do with Wu Lingfei coming from Eastern Xian region. There's one more thing. It's about you. This is the intention of the upper echelons of Tianji Tower. It's also the key to this cooperation. In the future, Auntie Fei will no longer care about Eastern Xian region. They hope that you will be the successor. This way there won't be any cracks in the cooperation between Eastern Xian region and Tianji Tower. Wu Lingfei threw out another topic. Meh. That won't do. Let's not talk about my strength. I still have a lot of things to do. Knight Sorrow shook his head. Why are you in such a hurry? Auntie Fei is here. It's not like Auntie Fei will no longer care about things tomorrow or the day after. You don't have to worry about this. It's just a topic. Wu Lingfei said. Alright, I have no objections. Knight Sorrow said. Then Auntie Fei won't join in the fun. We'll talk tomorrow. Wu Lingfei stood up and said. Auntie Fei can stay here. Knight Sorrow also stood up and said. Auntie Fei also has a mansion here. The second mansion is Auntie Fei's. I haven't been there for many years. I'll go take a look now. You don't have to worry about it. After putting on her mask, Wu Lingfei stood up and left Knight Sorrow's mansion. Eastern Xian region is about to change. With a good foundation, it'll only take a long time to develop in the future. In addition, with two big shots taking action, it won't be a problem to get the space-time pagoda. Xianxia said. Fortunately, I hope it will go smoothly this time. I really don't want to bring trouble to Eastern Xian region and Tianji Tower. Knight Sorrow said. If the space-time pagoda's ability to travel through space is strong, the chances of being discovered are not high. Xianxia said. Alright, you two go cultivate. Knight Sorrow said. Yang Lei and Xianxia nodded and went to cultivate. They knew that Knight Sorrow needed some peace and quiet. After cultivating for the whole night, Knight Sorrow got up to cultivate his spear art. Lin Yuandao came over. You're in good shape. Lin Yuandao greeted when he saw Knight Sorrow cultivating. Lord K is here. Knight Sorrow put away his spear and wiped his sweat. And? Lin Yuandao nodded and found a place to sit down. Mu head. Not long after Lin Yuandao sat down, Wu Lingfei also came over. Although the mansion was isolated from detection by a formation, experts could still sense some clues. Senior brother Lin. Wu Lingfei, who was wearing a veil, greeted. Junior sister Wu, everything has been arranged. We'll use the first plan. If it goes well, we'll take the space-time pagoda away. If it doesn't, we'll use the second plan and start the war. Lin Yuandao said. Good. Today we'll tear down the Qingtian City Lord's Mansion's signboard. This is the beginning of a battle, not the end. Wu Lingfei said. Then we'll set off. You two don't need to go. Lin Yuandao looked at Yang Lei and Xianxia. Okay, we'll wait here. Auntie Fei, be careful. Yang Lei said. And? Wu Lingfei nodded. After leaving the manor, concubine Wu Lingfei led Yishang and Lin Yuandao toward the Xiantian Tower. When they were still some distance away from the Xiantian Tower, Lin Yuandao nodded to Wu Lingfei and she stopped. If there was no battle, then Wu Lingfei would be trapped in the space-time pagoda. Her purpose was to fight when the other side discovered her. If she wasn't discovered, then there was no need for her to appear. She would go to the Tianji Tower branch and wait. Chapter 491. Genius 1 second. Remember love go/small? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Yishan communicated with Lil Kong and told him where he was and the approximate distance he would be at during the operation. Knight Sorrow couldn't use spatial Ren to take the space-time pagoda in close proximity. That way he wouldn't be able to avoid the detection of Jiu, Xuanhuan and the others. Most importantly, the person on top of the space-time pagoda was very strong. If they moved in close proximity, they would definitely be discovered and a battle would definitely break out. After communicating with Shao Kong, Knight Sorrow and Lin Yuandao moved southwest to a courtyard where the Tianji Tower branch was located. This location was also a suitable place to fight after a problem occurred because the Tianji Tower's people had all concealed their auras and were hiding in this branch. Under normal circumstances, no one would investigate this area, including the people of the sky-bearing City Lord's Mansion. This was because the colossal Tianji Tower wasn't something they could casually touch. After arriving at the location, Knight Sorrow looked at the space-time pagoda. Although it was a bit far from the pagoda, Knight Sorrow could still see very clearly. He could see anything that happened in the towering pagoda. At this moment, the pagoda began to tremble. This caused the people around the pagoda to become restless, not understanding what was going on. The pagoda's trembling caused the surrounding cornerstones to shatter and the formation to break. Everyone who was close to the pagoda was blown away. Then, Energy circulated around the pagoda and a huge energy phantom that was exactly the same as the pagoda shot into the sky. At this moment an angry snort rang out. Night Sorrow, who was about 100 miles away, heard it clearly. Then the pagoda shrank and the tip of the pagoda moved. A black spatial rend appeared and the pagoda flashed into the spatial rend. Before the pagoda completely entered the spatial rend, a huge energy hand grabbed at it. The pagoda that was attacked spun with energy and shook the hand away. Then it entered the spatial rend. At this moment, Night Sorrow's bloodline talent erupted and he used spatial rend to slash at the space in front of him. A hissing sound rang out as a spatial crack appeared. Although it was a thin black crack, it was still a spatial crack. However, it didn't last for long before it closed up. With a low roar, Night Sorrow once again used space rend to cut open the space in front of him. It was then that Lin Yuandao made his move. Both his hands stretched out to tear open the spatial crack, causing it to widen slightly before locking down space. Just as Lin Yuandao was about to lock down space, a beam of light flashed out and rushed into Night Sorrow's body. Spacetime Pagoda. Night Sorrow knew that it was the spacetime pagoda that had entered his body. Seeing that the matter was settled, Lin Yuandao waved his arm and smoothed out the space, allowing the energy to stabilize. Then the aura on his body dissipated and returned to normal. In the air above where the spacetime pagoda had originally been, angry roars rang out one after another. A large hand of energy was still being controlled, clawing wildly within the spatial rift that had yet to close. It's settled? Lin Yuandao said softly. It went very smoothly. This is good. There won't be too much of a disturbance, said Night Sorrow, who was inspecting his body. At this time, the spacetime pagoda was inside Night Sorrow's dantian. It was only 2 inches tall, and Night Sorrow's core was spinning at the top of the pagoda. Everything was so perfect and harmonious. Although there won't be a battle, the disturbance won't be small. Sky-bearing City's face will be completely destroyed. As long as they aren't stupid, they will know that the spacetime pagoda has recognized a master. An ownerless spirit treasure wouldn't have such a reaction. Wu Lingfei appeared beside Night Sorrow. As long as we weren't discovered at the time, what can they do even if they find out anything? If they touch our Heaven's Fate emissary, then they must be prepared to raise the City Lord's mansion to the ground, said Lin Yuandao. Night Sorrow, what's the situation? Wu Lingfei looked at Night Sorrow and asked. Night Sorrow stretched out his arm and the translucent spacetime pagoda appeared in Night Sorrow's palm. Hurry up and put it away. Don't let your aura be detected, Wu Lingfei reminded Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow nodded and put the spacetime pagoda back into his body. You really have heaven-defying luck. How many spirit treasures do you have now? You're practically a moving treasury, Lin Yuandao said to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow's golden phoenix flexible armor and ice silk soft clothes couldn't hide from him. That guy was heavily injured. It's Jiyu Fenglan, said Wu Lingfei. He really is unlucky. I didn't think that guy would be hiding at the top of the spacetime pagoda. Lin Yuandao sighed. After all, no one would have thought that the City Lord of Sky-bearing City would hide at the top of the spacetime pagoda after not showing himself for countless years. He's above the spacetime pagoda, intercepting the spacetime pagoda's energy to cultivate. The spacetime pagoda has long been dissatisfied. It's only right to blast him, said Night Sorrow. So many years have passed. He hasn't grown much, said Wu Lingfei. Lin Yuandao smiled and nodded. There was no one else besides Wu Lingfei who could evaluate the City Lord of Sky-bearing City like this. Supra, new chapter / Supra. If others said this, they would be bragging. However, Wu Lingfei had fought the City Lords of Sky-bearing City and Taiwa City alone. Although both sides had suffered heavy injuries, her battle record had still shocked the world. That battle had made everyone know that as long as Lord Golden Phoenix and Wu Lingfei were present, the Eastern Shen region couldn't be bullied. Lord K. Anti-Fei, have some tea, said Night Sorrow as he brewed a pot of tea on the stone table in the courtyard. Go back and study it properly. However, you still have to be careful. The spacetime pagoda's aura is rather unique. That guy can sense it and will investigate it. He will be able to detect you when you entered the pagoda some time ago. Lin Yuandao reminded Night Sorrow. This matter can't withstand an investigation. In other words, this matter will definitely be exposed. Jiyu Fenglan is an unscrupulous person. He won't start an all-out war due to the pressure of Qinji Tower, but he's still capable of sneak attacks and assassinations, said Wu Lingfei. She knew Jiyu Fenglan very well. Then junior sister Wu will take Night Sorrow back to the Eastern Shen region. Some of our people have already gone there. They can deal with and crush any storm, said Lin Yuandao. Lu Xuan and Li Changtian had already stayed in the eastern Xian region. The center of gravity of the Tianji Tower had shifted there, so the eastern Xian region's power was naturally stronger. The several tycoons of the Tianji Tower were all great figures who could suppress a region. No matter where they were, they would be giants. In the past, the Qingtian region and Taiwei region couldn't break in, so it was even more impossible now. That's fine. If there's any problem, senior brother Lin can send a message and we'll rush over. Wu Lingfei also agreed with Lin Yuandao's decision. Okay. Our Tianji Tower's strategic teleportation array can be completed in half a month. We can face all kinds of wars at any time. Even if the headquarters is a little lacking in manpower, someone can give it a try, said Lin Yuandao with a smile. Okay, it's settled then, said Wu Lingfei. Then Lin Yuandao left. Wu Lingfei took Night Sorrow to the mansion area of the Tianji Tower in a beast carriage, leaving behind Jiyu Fenglan who was constantly screaming in the air. Chapter 492. Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second/Small? This is a wonderful novel for you to read. During the war with Eastern Profound Region, Jiyu Fenglan's blood and qi had been frozen by Wu Lingfei's profound jade spirit qi. His meridians had been frozen and cracked, causing him to be unable to recover. In the end, Jiyu Fenglan came up with a recovery method, which was to use the power of laws when the spacetime pagoda absorbed the energy of heaven and earth to heal himself. As he cultivated, Jiyu Fenglan's injuries slowly healed, and he comprehended the power of space. This made him very happy, and he felt that he could advance his earth attribute to the space attribute. Just as he was about to finish and enter the final stage of the attribute evolution, the spacetime pagoda shook, and a strong impact of the power of space directly scattered the small amount of space energy he had condensed. It directly destroyed the space attribute Tao foundation he had condensed for a long time, causing him to lose the opportunity to enter the higher attribute Tao foundation. In addition, his injuries showed signs of relapsing. How could he not be angry? However, no matter how he attacked the spatial crack, the spacetime pagoda did not appear again. Without the assistance of the spacetime pagoda, Jiyu Fenglan could no longer advance to the space attribute. After attacking for a while, Jiyu Fenglan landed on the ground and looked at the elders of the city lord's mansion and the senior members of Jiyu family who had already gathered. Who can tell me what's going on? Jiyu Fenglan stared at the group of people in front of him with his blood-red eyes and asked. Everything was normal yesterday and no one has entered the pagoda today. I don't know what happened. Jiyu Yuanhang bowed and said. City Lord, did the Shintian pagoda evolve and have its own consciousness? An old man asked. It had its own consciousness long ago, but it was hidden very deeply. Even if it had its own consciousness, such a situation would not have occurred. It should have recognized its master. Men seal off the surroundings of the Shintian pagoda. No matter who it is, as long as they are suspicious, arrest them. Put Sky-bearing City on the first level of alert. Jiyu Fenglan directly issued a series of orders. However, Night Sorrow and Wu Lingfei had already gone far away, and the two soon arrived at the mansion district. Did it go well? Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu looked at Night Sorrow nervously. It's going very smoothly. Chuyu, we can't go to Mount Yunwu anymore. The situation is rather serious, and it's very likely that a war will break out. Therefore, Auntie Fei and Lord K want us to return to the Eastern Profound Region first. Night Sorrow looked at Sikong Chuyu somewhat apologetically. Is there anything you need to do in Mount Yunwu? Wu Lingfei asked. Nothing much. I just want to report my safety. If it's not convenient, I won't go, Sikong Chuyu said. If it were any other time, it wouldn't be a big deal for me to accompany you to Yunwu Mountain. However, the current situation is special, and I have to go back to prepare for battle. Chuyu, write a letter, and I'll arrange for a senior member of Tianji Tower to deliver it, Wu Lingfei said. KQN version. First, release 3. Normally, Wu Lingfei would accompany Night Sorrow's group to Tianji Tower. However, she couldn't do so now because a war could break out at any time. As the person in charge of the Eastern Profound Region, she had to be there. In addition, Tianji Tower had a big operation in the Eastern Profound Region and needed her to preside over it. Most importantly, Night Sorrow would only be safe if he left the Qingtian region. Sikong Chuyu then wrote 2 letters. One was for Yang Tian of Mount Yunwu, and the other was for Sikong clan's third young master, Sikong Tianding, who was also her parents. Holding the letters, Wu Lingfei left for a while and directly handed the letters to the other senior members of Tianji Tower in the mansion district. Then she left the Tianji Tower's mansion district with the 3 of them. After the masked group arrived at the teleportation formation, they directly teleported to Dongyuan City and headed for Donghua City. This time they didn't use mounts. Wu Lingfei directly flew with them. Their speed was completely incomparable to flying mounts. What Night Sorrow's group didn't know was that not long after they teleported out of Qingtian City, the teleportation formation of Qingtian City was closed and the entire city was under martial law. Jiu Fenglan understood that the space-time pagoda had recognized a master and was taken away. If there was no one to receive them, then the space-time pagoda should still be where it was and had its own consciousness. At most, it wouldn't recognize others and wouldn't let them recognize a master, but it wouldn't cause such a big commotion. Many people were disgusted by the martial law of Qingtian City, but there was nothing they could do. In Qingtian City, the orders of the city lord manor were the most authoritative. Even if they were dissatisfied, they could only endure it. Staying in the Celestial Peak Pavilion, Lin Yuandao only smiled when he received the news. Jiu Fenglan's reaction was very fast, but it was too late. The change of master of the Spacetime Pagoda not only reduced the strength of Qingtian City, but also increased the strength of Tianji Tower. At present, Night Sorrow wasn't a sovereign, so the Spacetime Pagoda couldn't display its power. When Night Sorrow entered the sovereign realm, then Night Sorrow with the Spacetime Pagoda would be the nightmare of all opponents. Lin Yuandao liked Yishang very much. In Lin Yuandao's heart, Yishang was still a little immature and looked a little childish. However, his clear eyes showed that Yishang's heart was pure and sunny, without any evil or dark thoughts. This was also the reason why he wanted to pull Yishang to his side and not allow the Ministry of Supervision and the two elders to have any ideas about him. He planned to wait and see. If Yishang successfully entered the Venerable Realm, then he would announce Yishang as the young K-Lord. The Celestial Peak emissaries were the successors of Tianji Tower's leaders, but there were still uncertainties about where to take them and what arrangements to make. They were completely different from the young master. Everything went smoothly. Guoxiao came to Lin Yuandao's side. Yes, everything went smoothly. According to the time, Master Wu Kei and the others should have left East Park City by now, Lin Yuandao said. Before Night Sorrow took the Spacetime Pagoda, Lin Yuandao had asked Guoxiao to lead a group of people to hide in the Tianji Tower branch, so Guoxiao knew. The 7 heads of Tianji Tower had all gone through all kinds of trials and tests. They were loyal to Tianji Tower, so Lin Yuandao didn't hide anything. This little guy is a bit too cruel. Just one trip to Sky-Bearing City and he's already trapping people so miserably. If he comes a few more times, the city lord's residents will cry, Guoxiao said with a gloating smile on his face. His luck is good. In fact, some karma was formed when the Jiu family cut off Night Sorrow's foster father's arm. This is the first confrontation, but it definitely won't be the last. It's going to be very lively in the future. Lin Yuandao said. Night Sorrow, this little guy, has been tormenting himself all this time. However, the forces around him have also risen along with him. Medicine Valley went from an unknown to a superpower in the Eastern Xian region. The Eastern Xian region is also on the rise, Guoxiao said. Tianji Tower has to take some risks in order to raise him, but we can still bear them, Lin Yuandao said with a sigh. Chapter 493. Geniuses remember love in 1 second go? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. As the helmsman of the Empyrean Terminus Tower, Lin Yuandao felt pressure when he made some risky decisions. Let's not talk about this. Let's wait and see, Lin Yuandao said. Guoxiao nodded and left. There were some things he had to arrange. Tianji Tower had to prepare for battle. Whether Qingtian City reacted or not, Tianji Tower had to be prepared. After a little more than half a day, Wu Lingfei brought the 3 of them to Donghua City and started the teleportation. With Wu Lingfei's help, the speed of travel increased several times. They arrived at Linhai City in Dongshan Domain in a few days. Dongshan Domain is still the best. We can teleport however we want, Night Sorrow said after handing spirit stones to the guard of the teleportation formation. This place has to be heavily guarded in the future. It's a troubled time, Wu Lingfei said. With the activation of the teleportation formation, the group teleported to Dongshan City. Dongshan City is still the most comfortable place, Yang Lei said after exiting the teleportation formation. Alright, you guys go back and rest. Aunt Fei has other things to take care of. Don't talk about this because it's very serious, Wu Lingfei said to Night Sorrow. First seat 1 inch, don't worry Aunt Fei, Night Sorrow said to Wu Lingfei. Then Night Sorrow and the other 2 sat in the beast carriage and headed to Qingxin Cottage. Yishang communicated with Little Kong as he hurried along in the car. Little Kong had been furious for the past 2 days. According to Lil Kong, she was good at improving souls. With her help, Yishang's soul power could cultivate even faster. However, she had tried to rush towards Yishang's deity sea a few times, but she was blocked by the heavenly fate jewel. Shao Kahn wanted to fight with the Void Fate Pearl, but she was no match for it every time. He's so shameless. He's so domineering even though he doesn't have any intelligence. If he can't help you cultivate your soul power, why is he still in your spirit ocean? Shao Kahn was very angry after being blocked again. Don't be angry. Isn't it the same if you stay in my dantian? Night Sorrow communicated with Shao Kahn. I'm not convinced. I don't know what that thing is either. Shao Kahn mumbled in response. After that, Night Sorrow told Shao Kahn about the Heavenly Fate Pearl. The supreme elemental origin of a large space is indeed powerful. I can't deal with it. After listening to Night Sorrow's explanation, Shao Kahn became obedient and gave up on the idea of snatching territory from the Heavenly Fate Pearl. Just help me cultivate my xianxia. I'm also helpless about the deity ocean situation. Night Sorrow communicated with Shao Kahn. After this period of interaction, Night Sorrow learned some things about the Spacetime Pagoda. There were a total of 90 levels in the Spacetime Treasure Pagoda. Below the 70th level was an ordinary cultivation space, 70th to 80th level was a space with the spatial attribute, and 80th to 90th level was a space with the time attribute. With Shao Kahn's help, Night Sorrow comprehended the power of space and felt that it was very helpful to him. However, he couldn't do anything about the time attribute. The attributes were not compatible, so he couldn't absorb the power of time. Night Sorrow was very satisfied. When they were rushing, Night Sorrow tried to use the Spacetime Treasure Pagoda to suppress and kill. He directly smashed the ground a few feet deep. According to Wu Lingfei's judgment, that was the strength of a beginner supremacy's attack. However, Night Sorrow could only smash twice. This was because he had two types of energy in his body. The first time, it sucked up all his xianxia, and the second time, it sucked up all the energy of his myriad Daos treasured tome. It couldn't be helped. It was very difficult to activate a high-grade spiritual treasure. Wu Lingfei reminded Night Sorrow that before entering the Supremacy Realm, unless he needed to save his life, he couldn't use the Spacetime Treasure Pagoda. Xianxia was worried that he would get into trouble because of the treasure. The Spacetime Treasure Pagoda had another function. Night Sorrow could enter and exit the space freely, but he couldn't bring others with him unless Shao Kahn opened it. This was inconvenient during a battle. The reason why Night Sorrow was different was because his body had the Spacetime Treasure Pagoda's origin energy. The Spacetime Treasure Pagoda's artifact spirit also had his soul energy. He could enter at any time, anywhere, even during a battle. In addition, the Spacetime Treasure Pagoda could freely change its size in Night Sorrow's hands. At its smallest, it was only the size of a pinky finger. At its largest, it could be as tall as several floors. Of course, this was the extent that Night Sorrow could control it. If Shao Kahn could control it, it would be fierce. It could turn into a grain of sand or reach the clouds. However, Night Sorrow couldn't control such an extreme state even with Shao Kahn's help. In the end, it was because Night Sorrow's cultivation was too low. After returning to the mansion, Night Sorrow asked Aunt Feng to arrange for a sumptuous banquet. He hadn't seen his brothers for a long time, so he wanted to drink with them. Ho Jian and the others were very happy to see Night Sorrow return. They pulled Night Sorrow and drank with all their might. Night Sorrow liked the feeling of being brothers together. He didn't refuse anyone who came to drink with him. Night Sorrow's alcohol tolerance had been trained in Bamboo Garden Village. These people were no match for him. They drank until midnight before dispersing. After drinking, Night Sorrow entered the secret cultivation room and started cultivating. At the same time, he communicated with Shao Kahn about how to help him cultivate faster. Shao Kahn increased the speed of absorbing the energy of heaven and earth. She could absorb 3 kinds of energy of heaven and earth: ordinary energy, space energy, and time energy. In addition, Shao Kahn told Night Sorrow that if Night Sorrow could enter the Venerable Realm, he could use the 60th to 70th floor of the Spacetime Pagoda. However, the last 20 floors were different. Not only did it require the cultivation of the Sage Realm, but it also required special attributes. The last 10 floors of the Spacetime Pagoda were treasured cultivation places that could change time. Night Sorrow didn't dare to think about it. Sage Realm? That was too far away. At present, it was hard to say whether there were any Sage Realm experts in the 9 regions and 18 prefectures. Even if there were, they hadn't appeared yet. How could it be so easy to reach? The 9 regions and 18 prefectures didn't lack geniuses. After the investiture of the gods, there were many monstrous geniuses and geniuses. Wu Lingfei, Lin Yuandao, and the others, when they were young, which one of them wasn't a genius? But they still hadn't entered the Sage Realm. However, Shao Kahn also said that she could let Night Sorrow absorb the power of space faster to strengthen his bloodline. Normally, there was no power of space below the 70th floor. However, as a tool spirit, Shao Kahn could still change it a little. In the following cultivation, Night Sorrow felt the appearance of the power of space. Moreover, it was very pure. When it entered his body, it was refined and absorbed by the power of space circulating between the 4 bloodline energy points to strengthen his body. In addition, the spacetime pagoda in his dantian was like a vortex, drawing the energy of heaven and earth into his body. After feeling it, Night Sorrow found that the spacetime pagoda assisted his cultivation much faster than using resources. Not to mention these two things, the spacetime pagoda could also absorb the milky white energy that could strengthen the soul to help Night Sorrow cultivate the power of the soul. This made Night Sorrow excited. As long as he had the spacetime pagoda, he could save a lot of resources. At present, except for the cultivation of the myriad Tao Tome, which the spacetime pagoda couldn't help, everything else was fine. Did you earn a lot after helping me? Shao Kahn's voice sounded in Night Sorrow's spirit sea. Indeed. Night Sorrow replied. Chapter 494. Genius 1 second. Remember love divided by go divided by little? I will provide you with interesting novels to read. I will work hard to cultivate. Love go little say net, Chu. Night Sorrow said. I have high hopes for you. I will go cultivate as well. After saying this, Shao Kahn went silent. Night Sorrow knew that Shao Kahn needed to cultivate. Night Sorrow knew about the spacetime pagoda from their previous communication. Shao Kahn did not know when the spacetime pagoda was forged. Shao Kahn had memories of 2,000 years ago. At that time, the spacetime pagoda had an owner. Shao Kahn, who had her own consciousness, had been hiding in the spacetime pagoda. After the owner died, Shao Kahn did not allow anyone else to continue to recognize her as the owner. She took control of the spacetime pagoda herself. However, Shao Kahn also knew that she was not the first artifact spirit of the spacetime pagoda. She had memory fragments in her body. Those were the fragments of the previous artifact spirit. Shao Kahn wanted to strengthen herself now because she was still not a complete artifact spirit. She was still relatively weak. These things were not important to Night Sorrow. What was important was that the effects of the spacetime pagoda were strong and its attack power was fierce. After cultivating for a night, Night Sorrow got up and sensed his body. Then he went to the martial arts practice field to cultivate his spear arts. Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu, who had also cultivated for a night, went to the martial arts practice field and asked the maidservants to set breakfast aside. Night Sorrow cultivated for a while, washed up, and ate breakfast with the 2 girls. 13. You are in good shape, Yang Lei said. It's okay. Do you have enough resources? Night Sorrow asked. Not a problem. Right now, we are all using high-grade spirit stones to cultivate primary energy and soul power. 1 soul crystal can be used for a long time, Yang Lei said. Yes, we are not lacking in resources. If you need anything, just let me know, Night Sorrow said. Sikong Chuyu smiled and said, You will. We all know that you have a strong background. Chuyu, I'm very sorry. You didn't succeed this time. Night Sorrow looked at Sikong Chuyu apologetically. Isn't there an accident? You wanted to do this as well. No one can avoid accidents. After all, the matter of the spacetime pagoda is too important. Sky-bearing City is probably going to be turned upside down. The 9 realms and 18 prefectures might all know about it. A beggar who loses his stick will become a joke in the 9 realms and 18 prefectures. Sikong Chuyu said with a smile. That's right, said Sikong Chuyu with a smile. I think they should be able to find out. It just depends on how they deal with this matter, Night Sorrow said after thinking for a moment. Night Sorrow had analyzed the situation. He had broken through the 59th floor with his cultivation base at the 4th Void Inquiry stage. He must have been marked as an important person in Sky-bearing City and would be investigated. Therefore, some things would eventually find him. However, Night Sorrow did not care about it. Using Wu Lingfei and Lin Yuandao's words, if they did not discover it at that time, who could prove that it was Night Sorrow who took away the Shintian pagoda? Night Sorrow had the spacetime pagoda in his hands. It had nothing to do with the Shintian pagoda. Who was right and who was wrong? How would they judge? They would judge by strength. The one with the bigger fist would be the truth. The strength of Sky-bearing City and Jiyu clan were relative. Jiyu Fenglan could look down on others, but he had to think carefully when facing Wu Lingfei. In the past, he and the city lord of Taiyu City were not a match for her even when they joined forces. How could they do it now? Besides, before the spacetime pagoda left, it gave him a hard blow, interrupting his seclusion. Not only did it cut off his path forward, but it also caused his old injuries to relapse, reducing his strength. Even he was afraid of coming to Eastern Profound region. The possibility of a realm war is not high, or rather, it is not high in the near future. Does Sky-bearing City have a chance of winning? It is impossible to start a war without a chance of winning. No one is stupid. Besides, Sky-bearing City is not something that Jiu clan can control. There are still the elders. Xianxia said. Let's not worry about that for now. If they don't dare to start a realm war, then let's cultivate in peace. When the storm passes, we will go to Sky-bearing City and then Misty Mountain, Yang Lei said. Sunday. Edition Q0 head plus unspecified currency hair. 9th senior sister. Did those 2 thunder attribute crystals help you a lot? Night Sorrow asked. Very much. They strengthen my attribute power a lot. Yang Lei nodded. That's good. There are relatively few thunder attribute treasures. Alright, there is something good I haven't given to Chuyu yet. Night Sorrow handed the slightly damaged Saint Crystal to Xianxia. Is this the treasure that bastard from Jiu clan wants? Xianxia said. Yes, it is a slightly damaged Saint Crystal. It should be left behind by a saint who was killed, Night Sorrow said. Another blind person, using a Saint Crystal to sell crystal stones. Not bad, Yang Lei said with a smile. What can we do? He doesn't have enough luck. Even if there is a treasure, it will just slip through his hands. Xianxia tossed the Saint Crystal a few times and put it into his storage ring. Let's go out later and pick up some scraps. Also, we don't have any more carving materials, so we can't stop cultivating, Yang Lei said. Okay, let's go after we finish eating, Night Sorrow said. What are you talking about? Wu Lingfei walked in. Nothing, we're just going out for a walk. Aunt Fei, what's the situation outside? Night Sorrow asked. What situation can there be? It's a mess. The people of Sky-bearing City have been mobilized. On one hand, they are communicating with Tianji Tower. On the other hand, they are gathering in eastern Xian region. They are unwilling to give up, Wu Lingfei said. They really don't want to suffer a loss after being stepped on. Night Sorrow sighed. They don't understand the situation. They don't know the relationship between eastern Xian region and Tianji Tower. They think that after communicating with Tianji Tower, they will put pressure on us and give us some benefits. They want eastern Xian region to hand you over, Wu Lingfei said. Then what should we do? How should we deal with it? Night Sorrow asked. It's very simple. As long as they set foot in eastern Xian region, we will kill them all. Right now, the venerables of our city lord's mansion and Tianji Tower are all in Waterfront City. Let them try. Wu Lingfei snorted coldly. Then I'll go later. If there's a battle, I can't hide in the back, Night Sorrow said. He was not someone who avoided responsibility. Actually, there might not be a battle. According to reliable sources, Jiu Fenglan was at a critical moment in his seclusion and was hit by the space-time pagoda, causing serious injuries. Not to mention the old injuries, the foundation of his breakthrough was also destroyed. What will he use to fight us? Wu Lingfei said confidently. Then I'll go and take a look. If there's no battle, I'll take it as an eye-opener, Night Sorrow said after thinking for a moment. That's fine. Although Jiu Fenglan's combat strength has decreased, there are still many venerables in Qingtian region. It's just that they haven't reached the level of a peak venerable. They can still bare their fangs and brandish their claws, Wu Lingfei said to Night Sorrow. Chapter 495. Genius 1 second. Remember love go/little? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. What's the point of baring your fangs and brandishing your claws? Victory or defeat in a region war isn't determined by the number of participants, but by the number of survivors, Wu Lingfei added when she saw that Night Sorrow still had doubts. I've troubled you again, Aunt Fei. Night Sorrow's face was full of helplessness. What he hated the most was to cause trouble for others. Don't say that. You've gained face this time. Aunt Fei doesn't have the ability. If she had the ability, she would have moved the space-time pagoda back a long time ago. Whether it's Tianji Tower or Eastern Xian region, everyone will think that you've done a good job, Wu Lingfei said as she looked at Night Sorrow's immature but determined face. Tianji Tower will have to endure the suppression of the city lord's mansion in the Qingtian region. It still caused trouble. Night Sorrow sighed. You're still young and don't understand some things. Do you think Tianji Tower and Qingtian region can coexist peacefully? In fact, if Qingtian region could drive Tianji Tower out, they would have done it long ago. Do you think they're tolerant? Wu Lingfei said. So that's how it is. I kind of understand now. Night Sorrow exhaled, his face full of astonishment. He hadn't expected it to be so cruel. Because of the ancestral teachings, Tianji Tower won't snatch territory, but they also won't passively take a beating. While defending, they're constantly weakening the strength of Qingtian region's city lord's mansion in order to maintain a balance, Wu Lingfei said with a smile. Then I'm relieved. Since that's the case, let's fight. Yishan felt a burden lifted off his shoulders. Actually, it doesn't matter whether you go or not. They just want to intimidate us and see if we're afraid. They also want to test whether Aunt Fei has recovered. If Aunt Fei hasn't recovered or if Eastern Xian region is afraid of fighting, then they've achieved their goal. Since Eastern Xian region isn't strong enough and they don't want to suffer too many losses, they can only hand you over, Wu Lingfei said with a smile. Aunt Fei has recovered. It is my fortune. Night Sorrow said with a smile. Wu Lingfei looked at Night Sorrow's clean and pure smile and shook her head. Every sip and every bite is natural. You've helped Aunt Fei a lot. Aunt Fei's recovery and further achievements all came from your help, so there's no such thing as luck. Night Sorrow nodded. He felt that Wu Lingfei's words made sense. If you want to go out and play, then go out and play. Don't worry about any danger. The teleportation formation in Waterfront City is guarded by sovereigns, and the border of the Realm Sea is guarded as well. No matter if they teleport or fly over, the Eastern Xian region will react immediately and not give them a chance to invade. Wu Lingfei nodded to Night Sorrow and the others. Afterwards, Night Sorrow and the others went out to buy some materials. Night Sorrow's heart was moved. He felt that he should go visit Uncle Blacksmith. He owed Uncle Blacksmith 2 favors. Even if he didn't return the favor, he should treat him to a drink. Ninth Senior Sister and Chuyu, go back first. I'm going to see someone. Night Sorrow said to Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu. Seeing the 2 girls' doubtful faces, Night Sorrow said that he was going to see Uncle Blacksmith. After hearing Night Sorrow's reason, the 2 girls relaxed and returned to their residence. Night Sorrow bought some wild game to go with the wine and rode his xianxia to the assassin hall. There was an old man with blurred eyes in the assassin hall. He was studying something through a pair of reading glasses. Little friend, if there's anything you need my help with, write it down here. Come back tomorrow and wait for the results. The old man looked at Night Sorrow and said, I'm looking for someone. Night Sorrow said, You're not looking for me, are you? Uncle Blacksmith kicked his leather shoes into the hall. Uncle, I'm here to drink with you. Night Sorrow said. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go. The blacksmith waved his hand at Night Sorrow and led him around Night Sorrow, entering a courtyard behind Fatal Blow. In the courtyard, Night Sorrow saw Sister Luo and the middle-aged man. Not bad, kid. Mrs. Luo put her hands on her hips and looked at Night Sorrow. Hello, Madame Luo. Night Sorrow greets you. Night Sorrow bowed to Madame Luo. It's indeed not bad. Sit down. You can call him third brother and, Mrs. Luo said. Third brother, and Night Sorrow nodded to the middle-aged man. What's with all this nonsense? You're here, aren't you just here to drink with me? Hurry up and take it out. The blacksmith shouted at Night Sorrow. PW Yankee Jojo T Free HVC _read novels NQ. Night Sorrow smiled and took out the wine. He also placed the game he was carrying on the table. Kid, I like that about you. You're not shy. The blacksmith opened the wine jar and began to pour the wine. After drinking for a while, Night Sorrow left. From beginning to end, Night Sorrow didn't say anything else. He just drank. Third brother, how was it? The blacksmith looked at the middle-aged man who was third brother in and asked. Very good. Let's not talk about other things. They're too dazzling and have nothing to do with us. Just say that his temperament is very rare. Some things don't need to be said, but he knows it in his heart. That's good, and Jingming said. The blacksmith uncle's name was Tai Yanglin. He was sworn siblings with Sister Luo and Jingming. We've heard the news. Do you think it's true? Madame Luo looked at the blacksmith and Jingming and asked. If it's false, why would the Qingtian region send people here? They're not fools. However, they must have hit a wall this time. Lord Golden Phoenix was able to defeat them in the past. This time she'll be able to beat them until they piss their pants, the blacksmith said. We'll go and take a look later. The Qingtian region is too arrogant. Although it's not convenient for us to take action directly, we should still secretly stab a few of them to death, and Jingming said. That's right. Regardless of which force we belong to, at least the Eastern Xian region is our home. We can't tolerate someone showing off in our home, the blacksmith said with the smell of alcohol. Then what are we waiting for? Tell Musha later that we're going out for a walk, Madame Luo said. When Night Sorrow returned to the mansion, it was already evening. He found that Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu had already gone to cultivate. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow walked towards Qinzhen's room. In the courtyard in front of the room, Qinzhen was cultivating swordsmanship. The sound of sword chi tearing through the air was constantly heard, and Qingjin was panting. Qingjin, what's wrong with you? Night Sorrow found that Qingjin's condition was not very good. Not only was he covered in sweat, but his eyes were also filled with loneliness. 13th brother. Qingjin glanced at Night Sorrow and sat down without saying anything. He was very depressed. What's going on? Night Sorrow did not understand what had happened to Qingjin. 13th brother, I'm not a person of the dark side and I haven't done anything wrong. However, why is my attribute dark? Qingjin looked up at Night Sorrow helplessly. Dark attribute? What's wrong with the dark attribute? Night Sorrow was a little puzzled. Chapter 496. Geniuses remember love in 1 second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. What are you thinking about? The attributes of heaven and earth are balanced. Everyone has different affinity with attributes. What's wrong with that? Stand up straight. Night Sorrow yelled as he pulled on Qingjin's sleeve. Brother 13. Qingjin was stunned by Night Sorrow's yell. What's in your head? Does attributes have anything to do with good or evil? Night Sorrow stared at Qingjin and asked loudly. At this time the people in the courtyard had all come out. They did not know what was going on, but when they saw Night Sorrow getting angry they did not say anything. Isn't the dark attribute an evil attribute? Qingjin was dumbfounded by Night Sorrow's anger. Who told you that? I'm asking you who told you that. Now listen to me. Weapons, cultivation methods, attributes, these are not factors that determine good or evil. Temperament is the only proof that determines good or evil. If one's heart is righteous, even if one cultivates a dark cultivation method and kills evil people, who can say that you are evil? Think about it carefully. Night Sorrow let go of Qingjin and pushed him. Night Sorrow turned around and looked at Ho Jian and the others. I am responsible for this. What about you guys? Are you not responsible? Remember, take care of your brothers. This was discovered in time. Otherwise, it would have been easy for them to develop inner demons. Captain, it's our responsibility. After being reprimanded by Night Sorrow, Xueling and Ho Jian bowed. Go back and rest. Qingjin, think about it carefully. Night Sorrow yelled again and walked towards his secret training room. He was really angry. If he had not discovered it in time today, the problem would have been very serious. Night Sorrow was wrong to lose his temper. Please don't mind him, Yang Lei said as she watched Night Sorrow leave. Ninth senior sister, Captain is right. It's our fault. Fortunately, we didn't make any big mistakes. You're really a bastard. Let's go. Today I will teach you a lesson. Ho Jian pulled Qingjin towards his room. If anyone has any problems, please communicate with each other immediately. Don't let something like today happen again. We're all brothers and sisters. Night Sorrow doesn't want anything to happen to anyone, Yang Lei said. Ninth senior sister, don't worry. We understand the captain. We know that the captain is doing this for the good of everyone. It's our negligence, Xueling said. The next morning, while Night Sorrow was practicing his spear techniques, the Blood Strike Guards and the Qinji Tower team arrived at Night Sorrow's courtyard. You're all here. My attitude wasn't very good yesterday, Night Sorrow said as he put away his reincarnation spear. No, we're here to apologize to the captain. We were indeed negligent in this matter. Ho Jian and the others cupped their hands towards Night Sorrow. After Qingjin had reached the 4th stage, he had been recruited by Qinji Tower. He was now a patrol officer, so Night Sorrow had assigned him to Qinji Tower's team. However, Qingjin still cultivated with the Blood Strike Guards and the others, so he could be considered to have a status in both teams. Alright Qingjin, you too. If you have any problems in the future, communicate with everyone. Don't take things for granted, Night Sorrow said to Qingjin. 13th brother, I know I was wrong, Qingjin said softly. That's enough. Although the situation has been very tense recently, there's nothing for us to do at the moment. Everyone should work hard and cultivate. Only with cultivation can we face all kinds of battles with ease, Night Sorrow said. Soon after, the group of people dispersed to cultivate. They were here to admit their mistakes. Night Sorrow put away his reincarnation spear and practiced a set of breaking killing fists before ending his cultivation and going to eat breakfast. 13th brother, there are some things that you can just say. There's no need to be so angry. Love Gong Xiao say Wang Qianglei said. I was indeed a little agitated yesterday, Night Sorrow said. Some time ago the great elder and master told you to try your best to get the 8 dragon cauldrons approval. Now you don't need it at all, Yang Lei said. Yes, my space-time pagoda doesn't need the 8 dragon cauldron. However, it's still good to be able to communicate with it. After all, our medicine valley needs its help, Night Sorrow said. Then we'll go back and take a look when we have time. However, it will be a little later. Right now we have to deal with the situation here. Even if we can't do anything we have to stay, Yang Lei said. Knight Sorrow nodded. This was a matter of attitude. After cultivating for 2 days, Knight Sorrow greeted the 2 girls and told them to listen to the news. He took the teleportation array and went to Linhai City. After exiting the teleportation array, Knight Sorrow was stunned for a moment. This was because there were a few experts sitting cross-legged outside the teleportation array. Xuanhuan was the leader, Dai Tianxiang, Lu Zhenyu, and 2 others that Knight Sorrow didn't recognize. Greetings, elders. Yishang bowed slightly to the elders. You're here. Linhai City is not bad. Take a look around when you're free, Xuanhuan said to Knight Sorrow. I'm here to fight, Knight Sorrow said. They didn't attack us. Why do you want to fight? Let's find a restaurant to drink. Dai Tianxiang said. Then I'll go to the Realm Sea to take a look, Knight Sorrow said. No need. Our defense is stronger there. We're ready for a full-scale battle, Xuanhuan said with a smile. Then Knight Sorrow went to a restaurant beside the teleportation array. However, it was a little far from the teleportation array. Linhai City was in a pre-war state. Ordinary people had retreated from areas that could be affected by the battle. As soon as he went upstairs, Knight Sorrow saw a familiar face. Tianji Tower's law enforcement elder Xuanhuan. He was drinking alone. You're here. Come and sit. Xuanhuan, who was dressed in a black robe, waved at Knight Sorrow. Elderly is here. Knight Sorrow took out a jar of azure blood wine and poured Xuanhuan's empty bowl. He then poured a bowl for himself before sitting down. At last unspecified currency new chapter, section 3 under. How's your research on that thing going? Xuanhuan asked. It's going well. I'm sorry to have caused trouble for the elders. Knight Sorrow raised his bowl to Xuanhuan. Trouble? The more trouble there is, the better. I'm just afraid there won't be any. Xuanhuan took a sip of wine and glared. He then took another sip. Knight Sorrow got up and filled Xuanhuan's bowl again. The wine is good. Come. This time, it was Xuanhuan who raised his bowl to Knight Sorrow. I'm relieved that the elders are here, Knight Sorrow said. We also have people in the Realm Sea. The chief enforcer is there, and there are also people from the Eastern Xian region's city lord's office. You can rest assured on both sides, Xuanhuan said. Knight Sorrow understands. After hearing Xuanhuan's words, Knight Sorrow knew that the Eastern Xian region and Tianji Tower were ready to fight. The next step would be to see what the Qingtian region's situation would be. As they chatted and drank, Xuanhuan told Knight Sorrow about the current situation. Chapter 497. A genius remembers love in 1 second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Why is the Taiwa domain willing to become cannon fodder in the war? Knight Sorrow was puzzled. The relationship between the Qingtian domain and the Taiwa domain can be described in this way. The Qingtian domain used to start a domain war because they were worried that they wouldn't be able to handle it, so they dragged the Taiwa domain along. The Qingtian domain ate the meat while the Taiwa domain ate the bones. It's quite despicable, Xuanhuan said. In other words, they are allies with mutual benefits? Knight Sorrow understood the stakes involved. Yes. The Taiwa domain is the weakest domain among the 9. If they don't ally with the Qingtian domain will attack them. They can't handle it, so as time passed they became despicable, Xuanhuan said. What about their strength? Knight Sorrow asked. Apart from Master Wu Kei, the Taiwa domain is about the same as the Eastern Xian domain. However, with Master Wu Kei around, 2 Taiwa domains won't be able to do anything, Xuanhuan said. I understand. If they can't stand on their own 2 feet, they won't be able to develop much, Knight Sorrow said. That's right. Even if they fall behind and get beaten, they have to have a backbone. Without a backbone, they might as well die. Xuanhuan nodded at Knight Sorrow. At this moment, the Qingtian domain city lord mansion had led all the clans and sects of the Qingtian domain to East Smoke City. The people of the Taiwa domain were also gathering. Xuanhuan also explained the situation in the Eastern Xian domain. Currently, the domain C was filled with the members of the Eastern Xian domain and the Tianji Tower. If the other side started a war, they would immediately seal the teleportation formation and move the battlefield to the edge of the domain C. They won't rely on the teleportation formation to attack us, right? Knight Sorrow was worried that if they couldn't seal the teleportation formation, the other side would continue to teleport over. That's impossible. If it's a sneak attack, they can use the teleportation formation to sneak over. But now that we're in a stalemate, they won't have a chance to sneak over. As for those who came before us, We can seal the teleportation formation instantly or destroy it. Master Wu Kei has already made arrangements. Master Qinji Tower. That's good. I feel more at ease now that you've said that, Yi Shan said with a smile. We have to be steadfast. If they attack, there are only two routes, Waterfront City and the Realm Sea. We have to fight our way through. Yes, we can penetrate their hinterland at any time. Master Wuk wants to cripple the Taiwa domain and take East Smoke City. That way, Waterfront City will be in our hands and they won't be able to enter the Eastern Profound region. Sula Trin Swan said. These things were absolute secrets of Qinji Tower and Eastern Shen region. However, Knight Sorrow could be considered an absolute upper echelon of Qinji Tower. He didn't hide anything. Knight Sorrow was stunned. This method was too heaven-defying. It was simply unimaginable. In other words, if Eastern Shen region wanted to, they could only attack others. Others couldn't attack them even if they wanted to. Let them fight first. Once they've suppressed their arrogance, we'll counterattack, Latrin Swan said. Then you must inform me, Knight Sorrow said. Okay. If you have nothing to do, just stay in Qinji Tower's Linhai City branch. The war will probably break out soon. I haven't fought for many years. Now is a good time to stretch my muscles, Latrin Swan said. After chatting for a while, Knight Sorrow bid farewell to Latrin Swan and went to Qinji Tower's branch. He planned to rest in Qinji Tower's branch and wait for the war to break out. In Qinji Tower, Knight Sorrow saw many people. He didn't know them, but he couldn't see the cultivation of most of them. Love Gong Little Say Chu. These people bowed to Knight Sorrow when they saw him. The mask he wore represented his identity and status. Celestial emissaries had to be respected in Qinji Tower. The staff arranged a room for Knight Sorrow on the top floor of Qinji Tower. When he was about to enter the room, Knight Sorrow saw a woman come out of another room. The woman was also wearing a mask. The mask was exactly the same as Knight Sorrow's. You are? The woman wearing the Celestial Fate mask asked. Knight Sorrow. May I ask who you are? Knight Sorrow reported his name. I'm Ling Long, the woman said. Knight Sorrow cupped his hands to the woman and entered the room. Ling Long didn't say anything as she looked at Knight Sorrow's back. She walked to the edge of the pavilion and looked at Linhai City. The situation was turbulent. The higher-ups of Qinji Tower felt that the Eastern Shen region's Qinji Tower was even safer than the headquarters. Therefore they arranged for Celestial Fate envoy Ling Long, who needed protection, to be sent to the Eastern Shen region. It wasn't that the headquarters of Qinji Tower wasn't safe. It was just that the general environment wasn't as safe as the Eastern Shen region. What Knight Sorrow didn't know was that in the past few days, Qinji Tower had transferred some people from the other 8 regions. They planned to completely establish the Eastern Shen region's unshakable position this time. At the same time, they wanted to cripple the Taiwei region. This way, Qinji Tower's development in the Eastern Shen region would be smooth. Original X First L** release. After entering the room, Knight Sorrow sat down and cultivated. When he met another Celestial Fate envoy from Qinji Tower, Knight Sorrow was very surprised. However, he didn't feel that anything was wrong. On the 3rd day of Knight Sorrow's arrival in Linhai City, Wu Lingfei arrived and directly went to the room where Knight Sorrow was meditating. Aunt Fei, you're here. Knight Sorrow stood up and greeted her. According to the news, the battle will break out tomorrow. As for what kind of battle it will be, it's hard to say, said Wu Lingfei. Mistress Wu Kei, our East Smoke City's teleportation formation crystal has dimmed. It seems that they've already shut it down. They don't plan on letting us teleport over. This seat has also ordered people to shut down the teleportation formation. This way the battle can only take place in the Realm Sea. Latrin Swan walked in with Ling Long. Ling Long greets Mistress Wu Quebec. Ling Long bowed to Wu Lingfei. Knight Sorrow, let me introduce you. This is our other Celestial Fate envoy from Qinji Tower. You can call her senior sister Ling Long. Ling Long, this is Knight Sorrow. You should know about his situation. Take care of him in the future. Wu Lingfei introduced Ling Long and Knight Sorrow to each other. Mistress Wu Kei, rest assured. Ling Long bowed. The two of you don't need to participate in the battle this time. However, you still need to experience this kind of battle. This seat has already told Chief Enforcer and Supervisor Lan that if they don't participate in the battle, they'll protect you, said Wu Lingfei. Mistress Fei, I can't kill sovereigns, but I can still kill those below sovereigns, said Knight Sorrow. Killing enemies can be done at any time, but this kind of great battle is rare because there are supreme experts of various attributes. Look at how they fight, look at the supreme skills of various attributes. This is a rare opportunity. Wu Lingkai shook his head. Yes, there are many opportunities to kill enemies but not many opportunities to gain experience. Tianji Tower has many sovereigns. We want you to become invincible in the same realm, so gaining experience is very important. Put yourself in their shoes and see how you deal with it, said xuanhuan. Night Sorrow and Ling Long nodded. Chapter 498. A Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Some distance away from the realm sea there were many large tents. Although he did not see anyone, Night Sorrow could feel an oppressive aura. Then the group of people went to the big tent in the middle. There were many people in the tent, including the Eastern Shen Region City Lord Manor's Protector Elder Xuanhuan, Grand Commander Qin Nan, and several other Grand Elders. There were even more people in Tianji Tower. Li Changtian, Lei Hua Yin Shui, and Ho Yuan were all present. Lei Hua's identity is known to all of you. Not only is he the law enforcement elder of the City Lord's mansion, but he is also the deputy palace master of Tianji Tower. This seat is the same. This seat came a little late in the last realm war, and as a result the old City Lord died from serious injuries. This seat took over the City Lord's position. Because I am still the deputy palace master of Tianji Tower, I have not revealed my identity. This subordinate understands. Everyone in the tent stood up, including xuanhuan and Li Changtian. They knew that Wu Lingfei's announcement meant that she no longer had a knot in her heart. Alright, then tell me the details of the mission. Wu Lingfei then began to assign tasks. First was Chief Enforcer Li Changtian. His mission was to protect Night Sorrow and Exquisite. Li Changfeng cupped his hands and accepted the order. The safety of the two Heaven's Fate emissaries was a big deal, and it was a big deal for Tianji Tower. Baidu search AI go female sign xiao say www.ichuxs. It had been many years since Tianji Tower had produced a member who had completely passed the Heaven Pole 5-star assessment. In the past, it had been a combination of 3-star and 4-star assessments. There hadn't been anyone who had truly passed the 5-star assessment in recent years. The appearance of Night Sorrow and Exquisite meant the future of Tianji Tower and an era, so they had to be protected. Following this, it was time to make arrangements for the battle. In order to avoid too many casualties, Wu Lingfei decided to send out the most powerful forces and directly slaughter the enemies before sending out the rest. After making arrangements, Li Changtian and Lan Yuxuan took Yishang and Ling Long to walk around the tents. Night Sorrow couldn't see through the cultivation levels of the people he saw. Some of them were from the City Lord's mansion, while others were from Tianji Tower. Chief Protector, why is everyone's cultivation base so high? Aren't there any low-level battles? Night Sorrow asked in surprise. Do you think the regional war is a war for everyone? Actually, that was not the case. Low-level cultivators were not of much use in a realm war. Besides, neither side was willing to kill low-level cultivators. It was enough to control the situation by killing the higher-ups of the other side. Low-level cultivators were resources. If they were killed, what was the point of seizing territory? Actually, it's just a battle between venerable realm experts. A little lower would be the late void inquiry stage. Li Changtian said. Night Sorrow nodded. He felt a little rueful because he couldn't even meet the minimum requirement to participate. After walking around, they returned to the tent. At this moment, there was no tense atmosphere in the tent. While everyone was meditating, a man entered the tent. Mistress Wu Kei, they have already set off. There are 2 airships in the sky, but I don't know the exact number of people. This subordinate didn't get too close. The man said. Alright, they have already set off. It will take them about half a day to get here. Let's prepare for the battle. Once the battle begins, Elder Xuanhuan will activate the formation and not give them a chance to escape. Wu Lingfei said. Night Sorrow knew that a great battle was coming, but he wasn't worried because the people gathered here were too strong. Wu Lingfei, xuanhuan, and Li Changtian were the true giants. Although Li Changtian didn't participate in the battle, his deterrence was still there. Lei Hua, Xuanhuan, Yin Shui, Ho Yuan, and Qin Nan were also experts. Night Sorrow's emotions were a little complicated. He was a little worried as he looked forward to it. In the afternoon, rumbling sounds could be heard in the sky above the realm sea, and 2 huge warships appeared. The ship was very fast. It passed through the sky above the realm sea and arrived in front of the Eastern Shen region's camp. Latest 9 New D Chapter 50 above CJ. Then 30 people flew out of the ship, and the ship was taken away. Jiu Fenglan, Li Fengyu, you 2 really dared to come. It's a little different from what I expected. I thought you would send some cannon fodder to test the depth. Since you've come, don't go back this time. Wu Lingfei's body shook and the Golden Phoenix soft armor appeared on her body. Golden Phoenix, what's the point of fighting head-on? As long as you hand over the Shintian Tower, we will retreat now. A man with long gray hair and a sharp face said with a fierce aura. Jiu Fenglan, you can't retreat just because you want to. Last time both sides suffered. This time it won't happen again. And Li Fengyu, I also admire you for daring to come. Then let's fight. After saying this, Wu Lingfei soared into the sky. A pale green halo appeared on her body. Then a sparkling and translucent longsword appeared and shot towards Jiu Fenglan. Life attribute, you've completely recovered. Jiu Fenglan's body flashed and retreated. It's too late to know now. Wu Lingfei waved the longsword in her hand, and sword light shot towards Jiu Fenglan. At this time Wu Lingfei's attack speed was extremely fast. Jiu Fenglan couldn't dodge, so he put up a protective chi shield. It was a yellow protective chi shield. How is this possible? You were hit by my earth-oscillating fist back then. It's impossible to recover the loss of blood and chi. Jiu Fenglan roared while defending. You're a half-cripple with shrunken meridians. How dare you be arrogant in my eastern profound region? Today I'll kill you. Life chain. Wu Lingfei roared out while countless light green chains appeared in the air, directly trapping Jiu Fenglan's khaki-colored defensive light screen and himself inside it. Rule power half-step Saint Realm. How can you master the power of rule? Jiu Fenglan roared hysterically. In the past, when Jiu Fenglan fought Wu Lingfei alone, although he was at a disadvantage, he could still hold on. But now Jiu Fenglan couldn't hold on at all. They weren't on the same level at all. I'm sorry. You're not improving and even regressing. But I'm improving. So you've come to the wrong place to attack my eastern profound region. Today your people won't be leaving. Wu Lingfei's life chain tightened, completely suppressing Jiu Fenglan. At this time, other people were also fighting. Lutrin Xuan and Li Fengyu were fighting. Lutrin Xuan was stronger than Li Fengyu, but it was impossible for him to end the battle quickly. After all, Li Fengyu was also the #1 figure of Taiyue region. In the battle of other venerables, Eastern Profound Region and Tianji Tower also had the upper hand. No, Eastern Profound Region isn't so strong. You're from Tianji Tower. I refuse to accept this, I refuse to accept this. Break for me. Jiu Fenglan knew that something was wrong. After ruling Qingtian region for so many years, his wisdom was not low. After roaring, a blood-red light appeared in Jiu Fenglan's protective chi shield. Unable to withstand Wu Lingfei's attack, he used a secret skill and burned his blood essence to resist. Don't you think it's too late? Wu Lingfei snorted coldly. Her life chain continued lashing out. At the same time, she waved her hand and sent out a sword to the side, cutting a venerable who came to help Jiu Fenglan in half from head to toe.